Okay, let's call this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors to order for Monday, February 24th. And we're going to make some changes to the agenda here really quickly. But first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge the minutes of our February 18th, please.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so we're gonna move up, I don't know where it is on the agenda here, I'm looking. Well, first off, where's Connie?
All
We're
right,
gonna let Mayor Boyer, she has something she wanted to talk to us about real quickly, so I'll turn it over to you.
yeah, first of all, thank you for adjusting the schedule just a hair so I could talk. I did have a citizen mention to me about, there was discussion last week about mowing at the Civic Center, and Doug mentioned it to me as well. And since this is something legacy, I thought I'd give you a little history about that. You know, back in the early 2000s, after the Civic Center was built, you know, the community really rallied around the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center to get that built, and we all participated, you know, city, county, et cetera. You know, our whole community did at some point. And at some point, we know that the city had to take over the building because of the property tax issue. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But the agreement was, okay, the city owns the building now, but the board, the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center board manages the building. They have to take care of everything. At some point, and they did, and at some point, times were really tough and they barely had any money. And I know that because I was on the board. I was also helping bookkeeping. And forgive me, I don't remember exactly what years, but this was, you know, in the late 20, probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that neighborhood. And somewhere along that way, the county was no longer giving any support financially. And so I came over and asked and that was the time when you had Mr. Hasseltine as your janitor, and he did the mowing. And because there's so little mowing over there, I said, could you do an in-kind contribution? And the supervisors agreed at that time to do that. So that's kind of the legacy of why mowing was done by your staff quickly over there, just as an in-kind contribution. Now, I recognize there wasn't anything formally in writing, just so you know, but anyway, I wanted to share that information so you all understood why the heck are you mowing grounds that appears to be a city building, but it really was an in-kind contribution, an agreement with the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center, not necessarily the city. So I thought maybe it had been long enough that probably none of you knew that. So I wanted to come over and share that.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Any questions for her?
Okay, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you later.
So we're going to jump down now to number 10, discuss and consider HR contract. And I'll turn time over to our auditor, Christie.
Okay, so our current HR contract is expiring in June. So we just wanted to get your thoughts on keeping that same company or possibly bringing something in-house. Darcy and I talked a little bit. If we did eventually bring it in-house, there would probably be some training. So ISAC gave us 3 or 4 different classes, recommendations that herself or I could do that.
What kind of classes were those?
Like HR certification, basically. So it might be a process over a few weeks, but right now she's doing most of the paperwork except for pretty much FNLA, I think is what he's dealing with, and then other little side jobs as needed.
I know one of the things he does is some folks have used him if they want to look over a job description. But that would be pretty easy if you know how to look for it, too.
I know we have an auditor kind of forum that we talk with all 98 other counties. And that's something that's constantly, somebody else is throwing out like, hey, do you have a job description for this, so there is that potential as well.
Well, I think, there's a couple of positives, at least from my perspective. One, $10,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but when you start finding $10,000 here and $5,000 there, it does add up. Secondly, I like the notion of bringing it back in-house. Not that I guess it was ever in-house, but prior to the current contract, we were contracted with another attorney out of Elmore. And we obviously, as many of us are well aware of, we started a new department, so there was a significant need for a lot of job descriptions of what they look like and so on and so forth. But prior to that, when we had hired the attorney, put the attorney under contract, over a period of 2 years, we spent $450. That was what we were billed
How
for.
many years ago was that?
Well, would be, at the end of this contract would be 3 years, because we had Bob for 2 years, and then the previous board decided to hire Jack. And during that 2 year period, we were invoiced for about $455.
I know that because I just found the piece of paper that says that.
Yeah.
I'll just have to make sure the date's correct.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know the exact dates of the recommendation to hire the attorney out of Ottumwa came from Pat McAvan. They worked a lot together. He's here a lot in the courthouse trying cases and stuff. And so
Mhm.
you knew him because he was the attorney for 10-15
I know
years.
him.
Yeah. So
I know
anyway,
him.
no, I digress. But my point is that I think we can do it in house. We can save $10,000 a year, a little more than that, but $10,000 a year. And most places, their HR is in-house. And I think it makes sense both financially and if the auditor's office is willing to take it on. And a lot of it is handled by the auditor's office now. All the files are in there. So I just think it's something I'd like to see the board consider. And we can adjust our budget accordingly as the case may be. And
So you'd still be spending money. That 10,000 on the auditor's office?
no, that's not what I'm
You said
suggesting.
we would but change our budget accordingly.
We
So that's why I
dropped
want.
$10,000.
Oh, well, okay, that just wasn't real clear.
I'm sorry. That's what I was talking about was,
Mhm,
we haven't currently budgeted. We were unbudgeted.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
not a technical term, but in my world, unbudgeted means the opposite of budget, right? So Doug, is that right? Unbudget's the opposite of budget.
That's right.
Okay, so we're all good.
No, it's non-budget.
Non-budget, okay. Anyway, we've got budget work session, so we can kick that around during budget work session, but is there a cost associated with the certifications?
There was, for one of them, I think around $400, she said, $450. So that would be
Right, well,
kind of, I think in the long term, it'll be good, but there will be a little bit of cost right away.
Do you know how much it costs, how many things you'd have to go through?
I should have brought it over.
It's okay.
Yeah, I can
Less
print it
than-
out when we do.
less than $1,000.
Oh, yeah, yep.
And that's for the both of you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I kind of echo Lee. $10,000 is $10,000. Doesn't sound like that much, but we cut 10 here and 10 there. And if we can make this work and the auditor is willing to, Darcy's willing to do the work, let's go for it.
Darcy's my go-to for like 90% of everything anyways.
But she's doing a lot of the work to start with, and if you do need outside, then go to an attorney and get it taken care of.
Well, if you had a circumstance arise where you had to speak with the attorney, so. Anyway,
But have we spent $10,000 in the last year using them?
the last 3 years, by the time this contract's up, because
Yes,
we paid
it'd
it
be 30,000, right? Was it 10,000 a year, correct?
10,200, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's $30,000.
Yeah.
So,
And I personally don't have any issue with the cert C, but I just feel like, I personally feel like speaking, that you can save $10,000 and bring it in-house. So anyway, like I said, we got a budget, easy for you to say, work session at the end of the meeting, so we can kick that around but
worth investigating.
yeah, so, anything else?
I think it'd be worth also looking at if there could be like a kind of an on-call. Like you had before for bigger issues.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly check into that. There's, options out there. And like I say, we can. And I don't know when the last time was we used our current individual, so I just think that we need to be proactive. I can share some stuff during budget work session, so we're not taking up regular time that I learned over the weekend. And I do know that the legislature again is looking at more property tax cut legislation. I don't know how it's all gonna come out in wash, but it isn't gonna be positive, I don't think, so. So, we don't have anything else, we'll move on.
Yep.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Dwayne,
Good morning Supervisors.
back up at the top of the agenda.
Just one comment on this conversation. In the road department, when we have our employees get certifications that are beneficial to the department, we pay them $0.25 an hour for the first certification they get, and then $0.10 an hour for the certifications beyond that. It's not a lot, $40-50 a week, but it recognizes the fact that they have increased their value to the department. And it rewards them for taking the initiative to do that. It's something to think about.
It's for Darcy.
That's up to you. We have warm weather this week, so they're getting the total patch machine out, spray patcher. They'll be out on the roads. Probably start on Packwood Road and work our way around the county as we do every year. We've got the patches on 146. You get surfaced. So we'll work our way around there. We've got a bridge rail to replace up on Germanville Road, just south of 117. We've got hopefully our last batch of salt to get delivered here this week. We'll mix up a bin full of salt and sand. So hopefully we'll have that ready for next year and not need it again this year. That's our hope. We'll see how that works out. Out on the bridge project, they've got some sheet pile to remove. And once they get that cleared out, they'll start driving pile for the piers. So we're making progress on that. And that's really all I got. We got the final TSIP grant paperwork for Libertyville Road that you guys signed a couple weeks ago. We got that back from the dealer. So that is ready to roll. We just need to get our NEPA, National Environmental Endangered Species approval, and then we can get that project submitted for letting. Right now, we're still looking at a December letting for that, so it'll be 2026 calendar year that that project would go on. And we've got Grass Tree. Grass Tree Avenue has a bridge that will be bidding in October for next year construction. Then we're looking at the 117th bridge doing a bent, what they call a bent pier repair, where they drive new piles and put us a backup support underneath the bridge to take the weight off the abutments. That used to be more expensive than replacing the bridges with tank cars, and now with the tank cars so much more expensive, it is a more cost-effective option.
Somebody got wind of it, everybody used a tank car, right?
Yeah, they used to be a waste product, now they're a commodity. You know, they've gone from $9,000 to the best part of 20. So, the bigger creeks take two, and that really starts running the cost up. That's all I got, folks.
Any questions for Dwayne? Oh,
Next week, I will be gone. I've got a bridge class over in Ames Thursday. So you'll have Thomas Monday morning. I'm
okay.
sure he'll do fine. Yeah. And then next Thursday evening, I'll be meeting with the Farm Bureau. They asked me to
Oh,
come talk to them. They pretty much every year since I've been here, they want to pick my brain, and they don't beat me up too bad.
They always want more money for rock, don't they?
Well, that is, that's the backbone of the rural economy, is being
Yeah.
able to get product to market.
Product.
And most of that happens on gravel roads.
yeah.
We do the best we can with what we have.
Anything else for Dwayne?
I just want to say I was on Farm Bureau Board for years, and we started with Tom coming in, I think, and it's a good dialogue between engineer and the board, and they know what's going on and stuff, and they ask questions, so they don't beat you up too bad.
If you time it right, you can get pizza.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be coming from a class in Ames, so I will actually I've done a remote the last 3 years, I think.
I think so.
It works out fairly well as long as the internet holds up.
Yeah.
They can put Josh on standby if you're not worried.
Yeah, he'll talk to him about roads.
Yeah. No, I mean, have an ambulance there waiting.
Oh, okay. Anything else? All right, moving on. Number 2,
Thank you.
discuss and consider wage step increase for secondary road employee. It is for Dylan Hoffman. The current rate is $29.62. Plus his certification, so his base wage is $30.37. And looks like he'd be going up 25 cents. If my math is right, $30.62.
That doesn't sound right.
Okay, I'll let you look at it. You tell me.
Kind of what it says in the paper.
Well, 29.62 to 30.60, yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, the cert goes on. So it's an hour, $1. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and this is his final step in our probationary, 4-year probationary period training. Dylan's our concrete finisher, and then he's also helps out with the signs when we're not doing patchwork. Pretty good operator to boot, so.
We have a motion,
So moved.
I'll second it.
discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. Okay, these are gonna be Josh's. Discuss and consider, well, number 3, discuss and consider hiring of Rocky
As-Bill,
Hasbill
I
Junior.
think that's right. I don't know.
Okay, for part-time paramedic for the ambulance service. I'll turn time over to you, Josh.
So yeah, I think he's interested in full-time, but we don't have any full-time positions available right now, so he's okay with part-time PRN.
So would that
Yeah.
mean that he would be readily available to fill in holes?
He still works full-time, I believe, in Lee County.
Okay. But he might be, we see, more easily accessible.
Right.
Okay. I would make a motion to hire Rocky as Bill Jr. as paramedic, PRN, which simply means that,
As available.
yeah,
I'll second that.
discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discuss, consider hiring Elizabeth Beers for part-time RN exception position. I would assume that would be a paramedic at the level.
Yes,
So I have a question. Do we
Okay.
have approval from the medical director?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so RNs can work as paramedics essentially. I mean, the scope of practice is the same, just a little different title, but yeah, she can work, and the medical director did sign an approval for her. And she does have experience at other places working pre-hospital as well, so this isn't her first rodeo, shall we say.
she's out of where?
I believe they're moving either to Atumwa or here. I don't recall exactly, but they're gonna be local-ish.
And so she would also be.
More readily available, I believe. She also would prefer full-time here if possible, but again, we don't have the position, but to my knowledge, this will be her only job. I don't remember, her husband works somewhere. And she has resigned from all other positions
Okay.
in the move.
Any questions?
Nope, so move to hire.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Did we, I'm sorry, we need to jump back up a little ways. Stuck in between the 3s and actually north of the 3s, between the 2 and the 3s, was meet with the English director,
No.
which would be you.
I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot to talk about anyway, so the staffing, again, the 2 new PRN positions, so thank you for that. On the billing front, we have 1 person that's should be hopefully done either today or this week with the certified ambulance coder course. I reached out to our cohorts up north in Washington County, and they're more than willing to meet with us to kind of pick their brains on how they're doing billing and things like that, and what programs they're using, and some of the challenges they've had. So really great crew up there. They're willing to work with us on that. So hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we'll have a little bit better plan about moving forward for internal billing.
So do you have, I know you said a couple of weeks, so you have any, how soon you meet with them?
No, just, and they're willing whatever. So I'm just waiting on,
Get the others.
waiting on Cassie to finish up, and then we'll kind of have a powwow and figure out what we need to know and kind of have our own plan. So we know what questions to ask.
What I would like to see, just as a sidebar, is, so you gotta leave him, he's on Medicare and you transfer him somewhere.
Mhm.
And you charge X amount. And the rate that Medicare pays is what the rate Medicare pays, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. What I'd like to know, I'm curious. If somehow or another they're getting a larger reimbursement than we're getting, I'd like to compare. Because I know that you mentioned early on in this conversation that they were talking about potentially getting about 60% of the billables.
Yeah, and yeah, that's one of the big questions I have for them is how,
Right.
what are they doing differently? Because I've had conversations with our current billing company and I kind of understand their process, but I don't know to what extent they're actually
Well, if I could be.
really working to get that
Well, that's what I was
difference.
gonna say, if I could be so bold, and I get why we did what we did, and I think it was the right move at the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We went with a flat rate of $22 per call. Rather than a percentage. And initially, it looked as if that would cost us less money. In terms of, but as we've gotten more familiar and we've grown and we understand a little bit more about the process and what all is involved. I wonder sometimes if there's not a lack of incentive to pursue when you are not getting more
Right,
money.
and yeah,
So because the other option is that you pay a percentage of what they collect. So let's just use the figure 6% as opposed to $22 a call. So if you bill out $1 million.
Right.
And you're getting 6% of that, whatever you can collect. So if you collect 600,000, they're getting 6% of that. As opposed to 1,500 calls at $22 a call.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering, and I'm not finding fault with anybody, I'm just wondering, okay, the basics are you send it to us, we bill it, but we're not gonna chase it.
Well, yeah, and their process is to send 3 letters of notification for the difference, and then I believe it goes to collections, but again, I don't.
Yeah. And
I feel like-
and how we've been doing
Right,
that.
right.
So.
And the other
anyway.
part, as far as that billing company goes, they bill for every, or they charge us for every report that we write. So if we go on a fire standby or a patient refusal, or we don't get any reimbursement, they're still charging that $22 a call. So, yeah, I think
Which I get, right.
I think it's going to be greatly beneficial for us to have it internally, even, I mean, just saving that 55 grand or whatever it is. To do it internally, that's going to help quite a bit. So, yeah,
Just real quickly, Shannon has some questions. Did you have a chance?
yes, yeah, I talked to her. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 51. Adam 51, our ambulance. I'm planning on taking that out today, and running it through the gamut and see how it handles on the highway and in town. I think it's going to be good. We did get the bill back from Southeast Iowa Diesel. It was like $90 for whatever they did to get in there and look at things and tighten some up. So it was pretty good service, I think, so far. So I'll take it out today and see how that goes.
What did they say was wrong with the tire?
So the tire they replaced, I think the sidewall was weak, and they general consensus was that was causing some of the issue.
You were kind of getting a roll.
Yeah, so they replaced that with an inexpensive tire for now. And again, I haven't had much of a chance to take it out, but I'll take it out today. I think the weather's going to be good enough to not have wind as a factor.
9 o'clock, 8:59, okay. You cut it pretty close there, Slick. We got a public hearing.
Oh. So other than that, as far as like the training program, still working on that. We have several, clinical contracts in place already, which is cool. The state wanted to see those, facilities, the agreements before they would approve the program. We have a university that we have an affiliation agreement with now that's gonna give 30 college credits for our graduates from our paramedic program. So they looked at the curriculum to see what's available there. And so we'll have that agreement in place. We're gonna use a different medical director. I talked to our current medical director. She doesn't really need more to do on her plate, so it's actually the medical director I had at Indian Hills has agreed to be the medical director for the training program side of things. So we'll get that finalized. And so, yeah, we're still working on.
When do you anticipate starting? Spring
My hope is July.
or July? That's what you said.
That's my hope, but again, that it's kind of out of my control as far as what the state needs from us and what accreditation will need from us, but I'm still working on it. That's still my hope for now, so
Okay,
cool.
all right. So we have a public hearing on the closing of Palm Boulevard Bridge. So I would entertain a motion to win the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay.
Motion and a second. We do it for Palm. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So I have any comments online or in the room about the closing of?
I just have questions. I'm landowner next to the project. I got a certified list in the mail Friday,
Okay.
cutting that close. Nobody was home to sign for it. I didn't know what it was, so I didn't.
Well, that's because we're fixing Joe's Bridge, so that's why we're cut.
How much money is spent on that dirt road project so far?
About 120,000, give or take.
That's it. Seems like to me that was a lot more money than 125,000.
Most of that done in-house.
Yeah, all of it done
So where'd all the dirt come from to build the road to?
Fries. Right there on that hill as you come down Palm, turn on I want to say it's.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's right down there. If you drive down there and look on the east side of the road, that bank was almost straight up and down. We cut that all down.
Oh, yeah.
That's where all that dirt came.
I also saw some trucks come from different locations hauling stuff too. So I was just wondering if some dirt was taken out of the ditch that could have been put back in a farmer's field for that project.
As far as I know, everything came from right in that area. They may have brought some in.
How many tons of gravel was put on that road?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Basically, it'd be 1,000 or 3,000 tons per mile. The issue is if we were going to rebuild the bridge, you're gonna have almost $400,000 into rebuilding that bridge. And
So,
while you're doing that, we would have had to spend about $70,000 on rock. Because there's a house on.
right, Frank Shorter's lives there. So it was not a rail car appropriate place.
No, that's Big Cedar, that has to be a bridge.
That's not Big Cedar, that's Troy Creek.
It's the drainage numbers on that would not allow it. We'd had to have four or six, I don't remember, it's been long enough. But it would have been more rail cars than just two, and because of the timber upstream of it, if you get more than two rail cars, you end up with a bunch of drift in them, and their maintenance issue.
All
And
right,
since we were gonna have to spend about $60,000 to maintain access to that house, it seemed more cost effective to just improve the road and make that bridge into a little water stream crossing. And that's, we talked before about that 2 years ago now.
well, I did, yeah, after talk, I mean,
But that was our logic on it, is that we were going to have to make the road passable. If we were going to do the bridge and we were gonna have 90-foot bridge, I'm thinking we'd have had 53,000 in the bridge, I don't have that.
So the bridge is, even to the point where it's gonna be condemned. It's in
Yeah,
bad shape.
well, it's a 3-ton bridge now, you can't drive the pickup over it legally. I mean, people do, but you're not
Oh, yeah,
supposed to.
I do. So the other concern is, right now, that road kind of has a high bank approach. And it kind of acts as a funnel for the water, correct? To go
Yeah,
under the
it's,
bridge.
it's not ideal.
So once that low water crossing is built, those natural levees will probably be trimmed down, which might let water flood my property south of that project. More
Shouldn't,
should, or
Shouldn't.
has anybody studied that, or
It's-
how it's gonna work?
we're not impacting the drainage. You know, per se, because that's a wide, that's a 90-foot wide bridge. So you have a wide channel there already.
That bridge is 90 feet.
Yeah.
Is it 90 feet under the bridge as well, or just the top of the bridge?
It's pretty close to straight down at the abutments.
Check that out.
There's some floodplain drift on the west side of it where there's maybe a 5-foot rise, so low water is probably half the width of the bridge. So you probably got about 45 feet of low water, and then it raises up, and you've got a 5-foot flood drift the rest of the way.
Let's see. What's the time frame on your project?
On the bridge?
Yeah.
We hope to have it done sometime this summer. It's not real high on our priority list.
I didn't think it was it. Oh, the only reason, I mean, the other reason is that the property I own there is a cattle pasture. Occasionally, cows wander, get through the neighbor's fence, so they're on the other side, looking for a way to get to the back, and they come across the bridge.
Yeah.
Now, you know, it doesn't happen all the time, it just, you know, it happens. So that's another concern. And you said how many ton of gravel was put on that road already?
Oh, gosh, it would have been 3,000 ton a mile, and it's 3
9,000 ton.
miles. Give or take, that's,
Well, it was kind of the talk of the area. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into a road that was pretty much a cattle path at one time. And I understand the bridge is bad, the people live there, and it's safety and concern.
I asked if we could offer to buy the house, and I was told no. Because that would have been the least cost.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That was before you, then.
Well, no, that's not.
But yeah, the lowest cost solution would have been to purchase the house. But
Yeah, I understand.
might have been the wrong choice, but that's the direction we went.
Any other input that anybody knows on this project that I'm not asking?
I haven't heard from anybody.
I was across it last night, yesterday afternoon. I kind of like to check them things out before they come before the board.
I bet you on the road.
I know.
Yeah, we've got, I think, 2 more of those old truss bridges left. They're in a little better shape than that one, but not a lot. This thing was built in 1910, so we got our money's worth out of it. It's just with no more traffic than on it, it's tough to justify.
It's a pretty strong bridge, because I know a couple of years ago, a semi-loaded grain went across it.
I didn't,
Dwayne, do you have your bridge inspection for that here with you, or is it
no.
back at your office? You are at the office.
I know your comment about the cattle path. Definitely that's what that road looked like prior to being upgraded. I mean, there's no two ways about it.
Joe, did you know what that road looked like before that? What it looks like now versus what it looked like then?
Part of it I did, but not the whole thing.
I used to make a decent buck pulling people out of that road when it gets stuck.
Gonna lower your income now.
Toward the end, now, you know, if you went down there, it's your own problem, find somebody else, but. But it's quite a project.
Mhm. Yeah, they cracked away at it all summer last year.
Was there any kept hours of man labor on that?
Yeah, Melissa probably can pull that up.
That'd be some numbers that kind of interesting.
Any other comments or questions from here or online? Appreciate.
Thank you. Brett Austin.
So I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So
I'll be
dis-
anxious to see the process on the water crossing.
there you go. Discuss and consider closing Palm Boulevard Bridge.
Do we need a motion to? It's not, you're gonna put in low water crossing, correct?
Yeah,
So. Do we want a motion to close it then, or
well,
just?
we have to close it. Because it's not going to be accessible during the process of doing it. And we're gonna
Okay.
decommission the bridge, so I assume we have to close it. I don't.
But you're planning to open it back up then? in the
Yeah, we
future?
did, I think we did the same process when we did Orange up in the north part of the county a couple of
Okay.
years ago.
Okay. So I'll move to close it then.
Second.
Discussion. Is this going to be a rock or water? Or are we gonna put concrete?
It'll be concrete
With,
what they call a vented crossing, so it'll have the
right,
pipe under it to handle the low water flow, and then a concrete deck across the top, kind of like we have at Kale.
yeah.
Is this satisfactory with you?
Yeah, much better than a boulder rock in the bottom of the muddy creek.
Yeah, so, well, with the drainage flow, it's the flow numbers that we get from the stream stats program, I don't think you could get away with less than that and have it maintained, you know, you'd be in there repairing it every time you gotta do anything.
So we have a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Do you have a proposed date? You might close the road?
27.
As long as, yeah, I just didn't know when you maybe.
Are you thinking about it this summer, removing the bridge, or?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, the removing is not a big deal, getting the low water stream crossing in, I've gotta make sure that we've got everybody lined up before we close it, I wanna make sure that we have everything in place to get it put back in as the low water stream crossing, so we're not leaving you cattle stranded for longer we have to.
Well, you know, that's not usually a problem, but it has came. Thank you.
thank
Yep,
you.
Thank you, Brent.
Okay, moving on, number 5 in your packet. Resolution and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. To hire Addison Hack, correctional officer.
And that,
Okay. I wondered, but I figured if I said that, it'd be also at that.
that's what some others pronounce it. I don't know about her.
Okay. So, desires to hire correctional officer Addison Mack at $44,154.81 annually, effective March 3rd with a start date of March 3rd. We have a motion,
So moved.
I'll second it.
discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Discuss and consider extension agreement by and among City of Fairfield, Iowa, Jefferson County, Iowa, and Fairfield Community School District. Elizabeth? I have a question. We're just doing our part, right? We aren't doing anything for the school district.
I have not been provided this agreement, so I don't want to speak to it. But I'm
Okay.
assuming that, yes, you won't speak for the school district.
And this is, oh,
Oh, that must be the official.
okey dokey.
The
Continuous and regular
Yes.
programs.
Yeah.
We had, just to kind of bring the board up to speed a little bit. You remember I discussed, I think last week, that Doug and I and Elizabeth and Chauncey, and Sean met with together to discuss well, the Mazdan barns and the new county addition or county campgrounds. And Doug explained, and if I'm saying this wrong, you know, don't feel free to jump in. But as I was given to understand, you need some extra 5 years, am I right, for the TIF?
Right. So the amount of time that is in the TIF won't be enough to realize the debt that we're gonna incur for the infrastructure. And so the city has to go to the county and the school. So it'll be, actually what's gonna happen is the school board meeting is the same time as council meeting. So Melanie and Rebecca will go to the school board meeting and do council meeting, and we'll divide and conquer. That's kind of what we have to do. But anyway, but you could go ahead with what we discovered.
So what we're doing here is they're going to TIF the area for the infrastructure costs, whatever that cost is. Sewer, water, streets, yeah, okay. And so they're asking for an additional 5 years, so from 10 years to 15, to collect the tax revenue. I don't want to say this, I'm trying to say this. The code, without an extension, the code allows a TIF to go 10 years. They can't collect enough revenue projected in 10 years to pay off the infrastructure costs, so they're asking to extend that TIF to 15 years to be able to recoup those costs. Is that
Right. That's correct.
So what portion of the taxes goes to the TIF? Not the whole amount, correct? Or
Correct. The property taxes that are collected, rather than going to the city, goes straight into that debt service.
100%?
I don't know if it's
there's a
The new
portion?
one, the new.
just the new property taxes for not all of it, just for that area.
Whatever is
They
new
pay.
that is added. Okay.
Yeah, they pay, yeah, so essentially, we're obligating those property taxes to pay that infrastructure, and we can't spend it on anything but that debt service.
Okay.
And does that include all the schools too? I don't remember.
I don't think the schools are included in the debt service. Are they now?
I don't think. No.
I think so.
You think so, or you don't think so?
I don't
I don't think so either.
Because I thought they were, which struck me as odd that they needed to approve an
Right.
extension when they're
That's
not
what the
really
state says.
impacted, but they still have to vote.
It's more like a notification too. All the taxing entities have to be notified.
So anyway, and I would put it this way. Now, there may be some change at the legislative level this session regarding the EMS levy. and TIF. Just for the record, I disagree that you are allowed to collect the EMS levy because that was a voter approved levy for a specific use purpose.
Uh-huh.
The legislature is actually looking at that this session. So that may change your dynamic somewhat.
Yeah,
But that being said, keep in mind, these are taxes we wouldn't collect if the development wasn't there anyway. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
So,
And the long game is eventually it'll all be done and it'll be there for perpetuity.
So another question. You're wanting to do this for 15 years. If you collect enough revenue or taxes and you have it paid off early, what the infrastructure costs, does the TIF go away?
Mhm.
And it'll go back, revert back to where it should go then?
It's to fulfill the debt obligations. So it's kind of like paying off car loan.
Okay, okay.
And so if there's no debt, there's no TIF. And there's very strict guidelines of what those funds can be used for. And so it's all controlled by the state and how we do things.
Okay.
any other discussion? So simply, just to reiterate for the folks that are listening, this is the TIF would move forward. And the city's asking to extend it for an additional 5 years to recoup the infrastructure costs. And as Doug just indicated to your question, if it happens to get paid off sooner than that, then that ends the TIF.
Right, and I have to do a report on all of our TIF districts every year and let them know how much we've paid and where we're at and if they're closed, what have you. So then, I mean, it's part of our audit.
So I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I mean, obviously, it's easy.
How many copies do we need now?
Somebody, Becca sent you, but
She only sent me with the one.
then just sign that one.
Okay, I have copies of that and I have copies of all of it. So you can have one. I just want to make sure you guys have a copy and you have a copy. So this one, that's the extension.
I think there's,
Overly signed.
Hold on, are you supposed to sign it in front of a notary or?
yeah. I think I have noted it down. And there's one more motion, I believe.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
There's one more motion.
Funny thing is, I'm actually not.
Well,
I mean, go ahead and sign it. I mean, we're okay with it, but.
county auditor attests to it.
I know, but you're both supposed to sign it. Oh, yeah, that's good, in front of a notary.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, when you hang on to it and I'm on the stone, that's fine.
I'm a notary, but I don't have my stamp with me, but you guys can sign it in front of me and
Well, Christie's not here.
She had an appointment.
okay.
We will get it signed. It is a matter
I just appreciate it.
of, okay.
You need this with you.
Why not?
Aye.
And that's.
So number 6, discuss and consider. Oh, we did that. Number 7, discuss and consider Sunrise Trail renewal plan again. To remind the board, based on the information I provided last week. The conversation with Doug and remember we talked about the we'll meet this week with the Conservation Board about placing Masnet Barns under conservation, which therefore would put it under 350, section 350 of the Iowa Code. And so Doug asked at that point, if we could put the urban renewal back on the agenda. And so I called Abby and asked her to do that. I'm confident, I'm not speaking for myself, but I'm confident that we have reached an agreement that will benefit the city and the county, and more specifically the Mazdan Barns. And so I would ask the board to consider approving the Sunrise Trail Urban Renewal Plan.
So moved.
Do you have any issues with the fact you haven't had your meeting with the conservation board?
I do not. I really do not. I think that,
So what would it hurt us to wait till they approve that officially?
well, it wouldn't hurt us any,
All right, I'll withdraw my motion.
as far as that part of it goes.
I just think it's smart business.
And does that have any,
We've waited this long. I would prefer, go ahead and say it, Melanie.
No, we would like to put the plans for the construction. We'd like to move forward with, bidding those. And we have to have this agreement in place to do that,
Okay.
but we, again, to Doug's point, we waited this long, but.
And I'm gonna tell you that after our discussions, and everybody is in favor of this. And the amount of layers of protection of Mazda Barns, I think it's where we need to be. And there's been no indication whatsoever that this is gonna be.
I think it's a good plan. I just
Yeah,
don't want to put the cart before the horse. It's just my opinion.
It's Paul. That's a Paul Handy joke. That's
so
good.
just so that the board knows, and if I'm wrong when I say Elizabeth or Melanie, throw something at me. Huh? What? No, I'm not. I'm just. Don't you trust me?
No.
I'm with Abby.
Probably a smart move. Technically, or legally, if you read it, and it says, county, between Fairfield and the county to document the consent of the County Board of Supervisors to Fairfield, including land outside Fairfield's corporate city limits in the proposed urban renewal area. Keep in mind, just so you know, we can't stop them from annexing.
I know that.
And I understand where you're coming from. I have no problem waiting. I don't particularly have a dog in the hunt either way. And like Susie said, I mean, the renewal plan is not an issue. I guess the question would be, I guess if the conservation board was to say no, I guess we go back to the drawing board is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, if we're in a hurry to do this, have a meeting on Friday to do it after you meet with conservation.
Well,
On
they're gonna
Thursday.
have the meeting Wednesday.
Wow.
There's a
there.
meeting Wednesday with the Conservation Board.
Yeah. On the agenda. At 4 p.m. So we all know. We hit. What?
Ed wants to say something.
Sure, but thanks, I think the only thing, I think it is wise to wait for their consent. The only thing from French Reniker's side is the sooner they get the bids out, the better pricing they get, the better. So if there's gonna be a meeting sometime relatively soon, as opposed to a month from now, I think that would be good, but I think that's one of the risks that's involved with extending the time.
And it's council's action tonight. Cause
And council is tonight also.
yeah, council needs to take action after you guys take action, so if you guys then meet Friday, then council would have to,
So you can meet Thursday if we have a, if you're meeting with.
then council would have to meet
Right,
next
then in
week.
2
Yeah.
weeks.
March.
Be 2 weeks for the council then.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't meet every week, but
Can you have a special meeting?
I can have a special meeting. Be happy to do that.
So let me ask a question, trying to be accommodating, and I want everybody's input. I mean, that's why I'm asking the question. So none of this is etched in stone, and I'm not disagreeing with you, so. But if we made a motion contingent upon, how would that impact the scenario? So let's say, for sake of argument, say, oh yeah, we can do that in motion contingent. But let's just say that they go, even though we made a motion contingent upon, what does that do for your council meeting tonight?
let me look at the agenda, because what I'm thinking is perhaps council can make their motion contingent as
Upon your
well.
Contingency.
Yeah, and that way then everyone's authorized to sign it.
Yeah,
And she's the lawyer, but that would be my,
I'm willing to push ahead on the contingency because I don't want to hold them up if they're wanting to get bids out.
And I appreciate that, I really do, but on the one
we have
hand,
that consultation.
Yeah, but you guys have known me long enough that,
Too long.
really?
It's only been here like less than 2 years.
But I haven't let you down. And you know that we have been over backwards trying to make sure that the county, that we see eye to eye with the county. And we have, and we'll continue to do so. No matter what happens, we're going to continue to make sure, because one, this and Mazda Barnes they're kind of juxtapose one another, but we're gonna move forward, and it's just, we want to make sure that everybody gets what they want. And I think our goals are exactly the same. It's just, we just gotta do it in a legal way. But this really has nothing to do with Mazda Barnes.
sometimes we say.
so
Passing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, it'd be something.
Some legal stuff going on.
Yeah. So do you, A, is that appropriate? B, do you think that would work? And C, if for some reason that the conservation board did not think that it was a good idea, how does that?
I feel more comfortable with you guys approving it contingent on the conservation board's approval. I don't know how that's gonna play forward with city council, but I would say that if you guys feel comfortable doing that, then
Yeah.
you could do that today.
Was Sean in on your meeting?
Yes.
Oh, so he's aware of everything.
Yes,
How did he act at the meeting? I mean, was he in
His
favor?
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Their major concern, I believe, not having talked to any of them, so I'm only speculating, but their major concern, I believe, predicated upon conversations we had with Sean, was they don't want to be responsible for it in terms of the maintenance, the upkeep, and the cost.
Yeah, the maintenance seemed to be the sticking issue.
Yeah. But not having a conversation with them, I'm just speculating. So, and to Susie's point, which is, it's a good point, I mean, they could potentially throw a monkey wrench into it, so I'm just going back to if we did it contingent upon, then it might be able to help them move forward.
It might be, but it's up to you guys if that's what you wanna go forward with.
so I'll change my motion that we'll accept this upon contingency of the Jefferson County Conservation Board. Is that what you need?
Well, yeah, approving
Of their approval.
to place Mazda Barnes under county conservation.
Yes.
Yeah. Susie?
Could you repeat that motion, Joe?
No,
Yes, we don't have one.
Okay, I'll try it again.
Okay,
Okay, so, motion to approve the Sunrise Trail Urban Renewal Plan contingent upon Jefferson County Conservation accepting the Mazda barns under their jurisdiction. Not accepting, accepting,
There's a motion.
yes.
I second it.
You want to repeat that?
no, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And, like I said, the meeting is at 4 o'clock on Wednesday if you're out at the nature center.
Gonna be there.
Okay. So we'll hang on to these signatures.
Absolutely. I just appreciate you guys working with us.
All right,
Now the casino.
now the casino. What you said?
I don't know, somebody said that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe this one.
Oh, no. I said money and bonds. I was reading the section of 350 of the Iowa Code
So,
related to conservation boards.
number 8, discuss and consider services with Grasshoppers LLC. Okay, so this was what Connie spoke to at the beginning of the meeting.
Do you want to stay?
Huh?
Did you want to stay up here?
You can, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Bye, Ed.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Final comment, we had a nice conference with local builders and contractors to update them on this, and we had a speaker, Joe was able to attend. We had a speaker from Knoxville who talked about the city and the county putting together a land development project for what they're doing there. It's really heartening to see the cooperation. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I thought, wait a minute, it was upside down, so I turned it this way and it's,
Still upside down.
yeah. You did that to me on purpose.
I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw you off.
Okay, it worked. So, this was what Connie spoke to this morning. We have, the question was, it's, the cost for the treatments and everything was $705. I think where the question came in, was, and I'm not sure what the CA is. Oh, okay, thank you. Is, I don't think the mowing was the issue. The issue was the treatment costs for the grounds. And so that was, the question came up was,
Treatment costs.
yeah,
So I don't know.
well, it says the spring fertilizer, late spring fertilizer, early fall fertilizer, late fall fertilizer, liming. I mean, these are different things that are in this agreement. Variation, garden tilling. I mean, this is the things that they do. But
Interesting.
yeah, but they're not doing all of these things. It just says, so whatever it is they're doing. And we aren't,
This is strictly for the convention center?
no, this is for all of us.
House,
Oh.
county attorney, Fairfield, Earth Convention Center, and DHS.
Okay.
So $100 of it.
This doesn't really say exactly what they're doing because this hasn't been completed properly. Because no, there are no services circled.
You have to circle them.
Okay. There's her.
But how do they get, well, let me ask a
And
question
if you
then.
have a question on,
Yeah, I was gonna read that with you. 1, 2, and 3.
if you have questions about what your lawn needs,
Well, my point, my question is, so I guess maybe we need to have him come. Because my question is this, what am I paying $705 for?
Yeah, it's not on here.
Right,
And is it for one time? Is it,
It says
Twice a
cost
year?
per treatment.
yeah, so how many treatments are we gonna do? I just think the Arts and Convention
Says
Center.
usually 3 applications will give you a nice long 4 will make it look great.
This doesn't have to be.
Your lawn is over 3 years old, yeah, yada, yada, yada. So can we shoot Aaron an email, see if he's available for next Monday? Oh, wait a minute, Monday will be in March, I want to make sure that's a Monday.
We're good,
You're good, okay?
good, we're good.
So again,
Think
there's a,
green beer. We aren't good.
so there's a complete misunderstanding that I thought this is in regards to mowing, this is in regards to fertilizer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And we can, as far as the city's position is going to be if the Arts and Convention Center, I mean, it's their responsibility if they want this done. And if it's the city's option, then we most likely won't be doing it.
well,
Right.
and
not much grass over there anyway.
Yeah.
the $705, I don't know, I mean, it's not gonna make or break us, but by the same token, does our lawn really need to be fertilized? I don't know. We could hire dogs.
No, I can put my goats over there.
Right on. Right
Do
on.
that.
Put my goats over there,
Well, yeah, then we wouldn't have any lawn, right? They just eat it.
probably.
Sheep do it, right? Yeah. So we'll just see if Aaron can come and explain to us exactly what it is we're buying. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Easy peasy.
Consider appointing. Don't run away, somebody. I don't know, maybe you guys don't know anything about this. Discuss and consider appointing Rachel Hiller as Jefferson County Representative on the FACC board. We got an email from Bill Perlin. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, it's on the bottom of this sheet. Yes.
Okay. Indicating that she has a willingness to serve. She's newly appointed president of our board and resides in the county. And I emailed him back while I CC'd everybody on the email. I don't remember ever doing this. I don't have a problem with this, why I put it on the agenda. I just don't remember ever having done it before. But if the board doesn't have a problem with it, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment.
Second.
Discussion?
Nothing from me, and that's fine.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay. So, number 11 must be this right here, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay, so you know what we're going to do? We're gonna take a break. The doctor put me back on water pills. We
Oh.
need a break.
10-minute break.
Yeah, so let me let the folks know, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we will come back and go back online for our budget session. So please, all of you come back. Thank you. Okay. So I guess we never really technically adjourned, did we?
No, we didn't.
Okay, so we're still in session and we're back. We appreciate those that are hanging out online. And we're on number 11, to set a date and time for proposed property tax notice hearing.
So in your packet, we have the timeline that we had discussed at the prior meeting. That's the earliest possible schedule without having any special meetings. And also the notice that will be published in the paper, placed on the website, and also on all county social media. We had originally said that we would be holding this initial hearing on March 24th, which is a regular board meeting day. And it has to be a separate meeting, so you wouldn't be able to say schedule it for 9 o'clock. And your meeting at 8:30, then pause and have the hearing and then continue your meeting. It has to be a fully separate meeting in itself. The earliest, the absolutely earliest day that you can have it would be March 20th. That's, the state will not allow you to have it before that. Because we're sending out the notices by the 15th. So we have to have time for the taxpayers to get their notices in the mail.
Okay, so. Well, so I'm a little bit confused. So on March 13th, you're gonna send out publication of proposed tax notice, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. It has to be sent out by the 15th.
Okay,
What's the earliest it can be sent out?
Well, so everyone has to have all of their information in, the cities, the schools and the county by the 5th at 4 o'clock. And then after that, it's when the mailing companies can get to it for us. So we have to have it out by the 15th, and we're just dependent upon the companies who do the mailings for us. We'll get them the data right away. Last year, we got it to them at 4 o'clock. I was sitting there ready to hit send. And it just takes some time for them to do their part of it.
so you're gonna send out a publication of proposed tax notice.
Yes.
But we, in theory, haven't finalized the proposed budget.
It's just going to be the levies. It's only going to be talking about the levies that you're proposing. So you wouldn't be able to go beyond the levies that you're proposing in this notice.
Okay,
And it's gonna have the school, the cities, and the county.
okay. So then, the hearing on the proposed tax levy / all budget decisions must be made.
Yep.
But then, and you've got March 24th highlighted.
Yeah,
But then
that's,
below that, it says set public hearing date for full budget adoption must be in a separate meeting from.
yeah, you have to have 2 hearings, one hearing on the proposed levies and one hearing on the full adoption of the full budget.
Okay, so can I have a hearing on proposed do it, proposed property, you put those words together like that. Proposed property tax levy on the 24th and then set a public hearing date for full budget on the 25th.
Yes. You can set the date for the full adoption anytime after you've held your hearing,
And
your
that would
first hearing,
constitute
separate meeting.
a separate meeting,
Yes,
rather than having to have somebody come in here on a Friday or a Thursday or whatever.
yes,
I mean, you know. Otherwise, you would have your hearing on the proposed property tax levy prior to the 24th.
but also the hearing on the proposed property tax levy has to be a completely separate meeting you can't just schedule it amongst your regular board meeting.
So even the hearing on the 24th has to be a separate meeting.
Yes,
So-
that's the one that has to be separate.
So when you say separate meeting, so we finish our regular agenda and stuff
Yes.
and then have a meeting?
Yes, you can adjourn your initial meeting and then have your hearing.
Okay,
It just has to be separate from the regular meeting.
okay, but I can't do the hearing on the proposed property tax levy and then set a public hearing date on the same day?
You can, but it just has to be clear that the hearing is completely separate from anything else. It's the hearing that has to be separate. So the hearing has to be completely separate from any other meeting. It has to be a completely separate meeting in of itself. It can't be sandwiched in amongst your regular board.
Okay, so we have a separate hearing after our regular agenda,
Yep,
the hearing on proposed property tax levy.
yep. And then setting the date for the full adoption just has to be done at a later time, a later date. It just can't be part of that meeting, and it has to be done after. It can't be part of the hearing, and it has to be done after the hearing.
So we could come back and do that on Tuesday.
Yes.
Which would be the 25th of
Which would be the
March.
24th.
You
Or
just
could it
really
be the
just need to
next
tell us
Monday?
the dates, not even ask it.
Well, the problem is that some of this could have to be a separate meeting. So it's not like you can just do it all in the middle of your regularly scheduled
I
meeting. That's why I have to. So anytime from March 20th through all the way till April 10th, you can schedule this initial meeting.
Oh, okay. But then it just
The
kicks all
initial
these other
hearing, I
cans.
should say,
But it
yes.
just kicks all these
Yeah,
other
there,
cans down the road.
and there's no reason to really push it back that far when you feel, I mean, I think you feel like we've got things kind of in order for the budget. You could have it on the 20th of March. That's the soonest, the absolute soonest you could have it, the hearing.
So if we, and I'm just asking, so if had the hearing on the proposed property tax levy / all budget decisions be made after our regular board meeting on March 24th, that's legal.
It is. It's, last year I said, no, we shouldn't do that because it has to be, it's in the code that it has to be a separate meeting. And I thought just for clarification, it would just be cleaner to establish that it's a separate meeting if we have it on a completely different day than what you have your normal meeting. But then I know Dee was kind of upset that we didn't just have it on a regular day. And I did find out that you can just adjourn your regular meeting and then start this separate hearing
And then on the
on the same day.
25th, we can follow up, say at 8:30 in the morning on the 25th, to set a public hearing date for budget adoption. And that would constitute a completely separate meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And then all the rest of these timelines would continue
Yeah.
to follow.
Yeah.
So what's the board think of that?
How long will this hearing take on that, the second hearing? Because I have a
This-
dentist appointment on the 25th in the afternoon.
Oh, that is just setting a date for the full adoption hearing. That will take no
Oh,
time
the
at all.
25th,
Just
then one,
The
the
one
next.
on the 25th will just
Okay.
take a few minutes
Okay.
because it's just setting the date for the hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was gonna be the.
No, that's fine.
That's fine with me.
It feels kind of like a waste to have a full meeting just for a couple minutes, but it's the way that it's written that it has to be done after the hearing, and that the hearing has to be a separate meeting. The hearing itself is what has to be separate. I mean, you could even wait for that one until the next week if you want. You could do it, instead of doing it on the 25th, you could do it on the 31st. That would be fine.
But you'd
It
have,
just can't be at the same time as it just can't be
Right.
immediately after the hearing.
so then you would have your regular meeting adjourn, reconvene, and set the date.
I feel like that's what they're saying you can do, but then how do you establish that it's a separate meeting
So
for the hearing?
Yeah.
Because the hearing is what has to be separate.
okay. But we're just setting the date for the hearing on the 25th.
Yes, you
Okay.
can do that.
But she just said you can move that even to March 31st.
Yeah.
And still meet your
And
deadline.
that's what I'm saying. If we adjourn and then reconvene, to set the date, is that a separate meeting?
Yeah,
Because March 31st is
The following Monday.
yeah, it's a regular board meeting day.
that one can be done, the setting the date for that hearing can be done does not have to be done in a separate meeting. It just has to be separate from the hearing.
So we could
The
put it,
hearing is the
Okay.
only thing that has to be
Okay.
separate from a regular meeting.
so we can put it on the agenda for the 31st and do it during our regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
The hearing is the only thing that has to be at a
What does
separate
that do to the
meeting.
rest of your timeline?
It would just push it back a little bit, but it's still all within your time frames.
Well, we can do that if the board would prefer. Does that meet your timeline, Susie? I don't remember your day.
17th.
Will work for you. We have to work around you.
I think that should. Would you go through that? If I have surgery on the 17th. Will those dates all work? I think they will.
Will you be back on the 24th?
Oh, in a wheelchair, probably with somebody pushing me in here.
She'll be back on the 18th. She's tough.
The 24th would be the first thing after that.
Okay. Oh, on the 24th. Oh, yeah, no problem.
Okay, so,
Because I would have to go to therapy that day anyway.
Okay.
So I'll be here.
so the hearing on the proposed property tax levy would be, we would do that, we would adjourn our regular board meeting and reconvene to do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
You just have to, I guess, just set the time far enough out that you're not
Right.
sandwiching it between your regular business, just so that we can clearly establish that it's a separate meeting.
okay. And then set the public hearing date on the 31st during our regular meeting.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Does that work for you guys?
Yes.
Shannon, sometime after the 1st of March, we've got to do that report.
Yeah. What time are you setting this for? Who's making the motion?
Do we have to set a time now, or can we see how the agenda looks and set it?
Has to be set now because I have to get
Okay.
it sent out. You can throw it out till 1 o'clock. I mean, that's not immediately after, but that would ensure that you would have.
I would like to think we would be done by 11.
You aren't having a meeting on the 17th.
Right.
It's my gift to you guys.
I'm just saying, things sometimes add up when you miss a meeting.
Yeah,
I'm just,
yeah.
I have no dog.
Or
I don't
maybe
care.
you could do this one on a different day,
Which one?
the hearing. The hearing is the one that really you have to establish as a separate meeting from your regular business. So maybe instead of having that one on the 24th, you could have it a different day.
Which one do we have to do first?
You have to do the hearing first.
So the 31st, I mean, so that's the one you're talking about doing.
So the hearing is the
Yeah.
one that you have to do separate. The soonest you can have it is the 20th. The latest you can have it is April 10th.
Okay,
You
so,
have to be able to establish that it's a separate meeting from your regular business.
okay, see, now, but the thing
Not the
is,
setting the date. The one highlighted in yellow is. the
Let's not
one-
worry about anything after that. Let's just worry about the one that, the hearing. I think that's what's throwing you off is the stuff after it. If you just look at the hearing right now, you can schedule it for
well,
the,
then we can do that. We've already said that we'll just have our regular meeting, then we'll adjourn and reconvene after the regular meeting, whatever the time frame that ends.
But she
but
says
you
we have to
we
set
have
the
to
time.
say what time it's gonna be
All
in
right.
the notice that I have to send by Thursday at 9.
Okay, so if we're up against it, we say 11 a.m. If we're up against it, which I can't imagine we would do it, if we are, we're up against it, then we adjourn. And then we reconvene and do this, and then we adjourn and we reconvene and finish the other meeting.
Yeah.
Just as long as you can establish that it's a separate
Well,
meeting.
it would be because we're gonna adjourn.
Well, when he starts
just
the
feel like
meeting,
that
all he has
muddies
to
it
do
up
is
a
say for
little.
those listening and for those in the room, this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah. But the thing is, the other one says, in parentheses,
Yeah, but let's not worry about that one. Really, I'm just saying you can't do those at the same time.
okay. That's what you mean when you say must be in a separate.
Yeah, really,
Okay.
I mean, just disregard that one for
Okay.
now, if you would.
Okay.
Because I think that's what's confusing things.
So we're just.
Because we can do that one at any time
Yeah.
later.
So just said 11 a.m.
Okay.
Can't imagine that we would be able to,
11 a.m. on 24th.
11 a.m. on the 24th.
So then the other thing that I need from you today is an explanation for the notice. Reasons for tax increase if proposed exceeds the current. And for our general countywide levies, it does not exceed, but for the rural, it does. If you take the 27 cents off that the ambulance is reducing theirs, and I did double check their budget this morning, they've already proposed it without the 27 cents, so they did take it off. Then we're flat, but our budget looks like it's going up because of the 27 cents that is not being levied by the hospital anymore, but is now being levied by us. So is that what you would like to have for your explanation, or do you want to go into any other kind of details? What are your thoughts?
Switching 27-cent levy from hospital to county.
I mean, I think that's
That's the
bottom line,
simplest,
what, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Lee says so.
I'm thinking maintain level revenue stream, but I don't know if that's.
I know, I was thinking that the whole point of us actually, because it really is just the rural levy that's going up. And it's to maintain our fund balance,
Mhm.
but I don't know if people will understand what we're saying there.
More words can be confusing.
I know.
Eighth grade reading level.
And really, the reason that rural levy is going up is not the ambulance so much.
Right.
So is that,
Because we looked at what the innate fund balance was, and we said we need to
yes.
strengthen that.
So do you want to say to maintain our fund
I
balance?
think that's just the simplest way to put it. Doesn't. You said eighth grade, of
Eighth grade reading level, or sixth.
course. When my dad was in the eighth grade, they much educated than they are. Anyway, I digress. Yes, I think that's. Come on in. Hey, Bob, how you doing? Over here. Okay. Tell my wife, his hair's hanging on his shoulders. She's got his hair.
I mean, that's what he's here for. You cut her?
No, I tried to get Abby.
Okay, somebody's cut it.
Kept asking. She just,
My wife does, but she doesn't guarantee it.
so, yeah, just to maintain existing fund balance.
And then it also requests that we detail specific purposes or programs.
You just said it, maintain fund balances.
Okay.
I mean,
How much plainer can you get it?
you get too deep in the weeds and you're gonna have
I know.
14 pages of
I know,
Yeah.
explanation.
yeah.
Well, what does this mean? Well, that means that's like when you look at the Iowa code and they have 14 pages of definitions before they actually get to the law.
Yeah.
Apples means.
Yeah,
Just,
it's complicated, but the simplest terms that we can explain it in, I think will help people.
So we have a motion on that?
master here.
No,
So-
she's more of a babysitter.
Is that what?
What have you got wrote down for the motion?
Set the public hearing for March 24th at 11 a.m.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All right,
All those in favor?
Aye.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Okay, Shannon.
All right. Now,
See how much talking we did just to set a date?
yeah. So we're
Quite
still,
confusing.
so we're still technically, we haven't got to the budget session yet. So committee reports, folks.
Um. Conference board, we all did that.
Yeah.
Semco did not have a meeting. They canceled at the last minute, you know, so, other than all the time I spent at extension,
I had a question. I
I haven't.
had a question from an individual wanting to know, and of course, I don't know, but wanting to know, we let a bunch of people go or something?
We have 5 committees under the youth. And 2 of those committees were dissolved last fall. The contention committee,
You're doing a good job on the snow removal.
Thank you.
yeah, this year.
Yeah, we had snow. on it.
Yeah. So the showmanship committee resigned, all of them, all but 2. So we were in a position where we had to go back to what we've done before, make 1 committee instead of 5. And so that's what's in contention.
Well, I couldn't answer the question because
Yeah, the extension council voted to go back to the way it was prior.
now, is that unique to us or is that kind of extension wide, so to speak?
The way I understand it's every county around usually has just 1
Oh,
youth
okay.
council. We tried something else and it didn't work out.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Nothing
you'll
ventured-
hear a lot about it.
Yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Certainly, I will say, both sides needs to remember, this is for the youth.
Right.
It's for the youth. It's for the youth. So we need to quit having it as adult.
Yeah, they can screw things up pretty easy.
You know, because there are a lot of good people on the showmanship committee.
You done?
Gotta do what
Maybe
you-
if you're gonna keep talking, I'll keep talking.
Okay, conference board meeting here at the courthouse. I sit on this resilient action committee. for the city of
Sicilian, is that
Fairfield.
what you said?
Resilient,
Oh, okay.
call it the rack. And we had a meeting at 12 o'clock at the Eco Lab on Wednesday. On Thursday, I attended the Grow Fairfield at the convention center. And that's what Ed was talking about with the developer from Knoxville and then Martin Brett that's doing the developing out here at North Campus. He was there and talked about it. I attended business after hours at Addington Place Thursday night. And Friday morning, I went to the high school for the FFA breakfast. This was FFA week last week. And they had a breakfast at 7 o'clock. So I attended that. Besides my grandkids, that's it.
Well, I conference board with you guys, the rest of my week was doctor's appointments, buku doctor's appointments. So,
You know, I will say, since you mentioned your grandkids, my little niece got 6th in the nation in it. At one certain event that she enters at Horseshoes.
sweet.
Good
She's
for her.
5.
Good for her.
And in the meantime, they had a national convention in Dubuque, which is, I guess, a really cool place. I didn't get to go. But the 2-year-old handed out the awards. She was quite a hand.
Okay, public comments. Hearing none. Allow claims and food reports in the amount of
$51,693.90.
motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're at budget work session. when we set timelines earlier, or not set timelines, but set a hearing date earlier. Two things I'd like to discuss a little further, and certainly anything else you all want to kick around. I would like to have, I suppose we have to do this. I don't know how we have to do this, because, but I would like for the board to I suppose we have to make it official in a regular meeting, but to establish for the budget pay raise.
I believe there's a code section that speaks to timelines on that, so Shannon will have it for you, but it's my understanding it has to be maybe after this initial hearing.
Right, but what I'm wanting to know is the amount.
Oh, officially how much?
Yes. Because there seemed to be some, I mean, we've had discussions and I think we arrived at a figure, but we didn't arrive at it, so to speak, officially. Put it in the budget. Secondly, reviewing the supervisor's portion of the budget, whether or not we want to not renew the contract when it expires regarding HR, because that will happen just prior to the start of the new fiscal year. And we need to reach out either way, if we're gonna continue it or not continue it, to advise. And then, you know, Susie, we sent out an email, Susie didn't, but the conversations we had was Susie's desire. We sent out an email to all of the department heads to look at their budgets, to see what, if any, adjustments they could make.
How many department heads responded?
I don't know.
I believe it's the 3.
Okay.
Is there any way we can look at all the stuff under our purview with, you know, with the board? Like the Madison Barnes, the library, can we look at that whole thing again?
You mean as far as what we're contributing to
Yeah,
them?
to
Sure.
see if I can see some more items.
Right? I mean. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why we can't, you know, look at that. Of course, in the case of the library, unless we're gonna buck the state, which yours truly is perfectly happy in doing.
You know, if I could openly speak,
Yeah.
were you in here the other day when Josh was in here? From the Carnegie Museum? The city cut him, he had an $81,000 ask, was that correct? And they took it down to, do you remember the figure, Joe?
I think 55.
Now, they're facing the same thing.
Everybody's
Right.
facing it, yeah.
So, which, I'm glad you mentioned that because I had forgotten. So, I want to bring you up to speed, and this is important. It isn't us at the moment. But it's very important that everybody understands. The Board of Supervisors in Van Buren County was looking at going to the voters to ask for a tax increase, which we can do even under the current legislation. What that's gonna look like at the end of this session, but under the current legislation. If we determine that we can't function at the statutory limit of X, that we can go to the voters and have a special election, which in this case, if we were going to do that, we would have to decide that so that it could be done March 4th, I believe was the timeline. Don't quote me on that, but I think that was what it was. Okay, and so then you go to the voters and you say, I want $1.235. And then the voters give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Van Buren County was at that point. They were broke, and I mean that literally.
Yeah.
The only thing that saved them was that they had invested in IPATE. They were looking at an 8% ending fund balance. 8%. not sustainable. They were able, because of their investment in IPay, which is Iowa Public Investment Trust, something, okay. To get it to 15. So they were not going to have to ask this year. But clearly it was indicated that for the next fiscal year, not the budget that we're budgeting for right now, but the next, that they would be going to the voters because they would not be able to maintain this situation that we're in. And I want to put this very succinctly. We will be required to go to a $3.50 statutory limit
Right,
unless something
29.
changes.
Mhm, mhm.
So what we're looking at is that is the cap. So whether you call it an artificial cap, it's a hard and fast cap. We cannot exceed that, without voter approval. Otherwise, we can't exceed that. However, they're not capping our costs that are coming out of that fund. So all of those costs will continue to rise, but our levy rate is capped. And it cannot rise.
Mhm.
It could go down, but it cannot go up. That is a hard and fast cap. Now, the unknown quantity is the taxable valuations, whatever the state allows, because that is up to the state. But if we exceed 3%, then there will be a reduction. If we exceed 6%, there will be a greater reduction. So what I'm saying is that everybody is going to be faced with exactly what Van Buren County is currently faced with. Sooner or later, we will be there without changes. So going back to what you just brought up about the public library and so on and so forth, there are going to be some things, in my estimation, that we need to take a look at and say, no, state, we're not going to fund this. It's your baby, you do it. No more mandates. We're not paying them because we can't. We are there. Whether it's the library, whether it's DHS, whether it's court services, whatever it is, we are there. We have requirements that we have to fund to maintain services for the residents of the county.
You know, like, if I can just talk about politics for a minute. If, I hear all these things about, we're gonna cut the postal service. Well, if that would happen, what would we do with those notices those ladies have to send out?
Right.
What are we gonna do? If,
In theory, the state would have to adjust, but there again, Susie, you bring up an excellent point.
yeah,
There's another $12,000 state mandate,
oh, yeah,
or 5,000.
absolutely.
5,000, we had to send them for the election, so that was 5,000
Yeah.
that I didn't have a budget for.
Yeah,
Right.
and I just think we need to look at everything.
Well, I
Again,
agree, but
everything.
are we willing to say no to the state?
Well, then,
I am, I'm just asking.
No, I'm not gonna answer that yet. DHS, I remember, just a couple weeks ago, the folks that CEDA were just in a panic. Because if they would have cut off all those funds, we would have lost a lot. Then they kind of got a reprieve, but that still could be coming up,
Right, and so, but here's the $64 question. And you know this, Joe doesn't yet necessarily, because he's only been here a couple of weeks, but we fund those organizations through per capitas and membership fees.
Yeah.
We're required to do so.
Mhm.
If we don't, then what? Then what? If we don't give money to CEDA, then what? If we don't give money to CERG, then what? Well, if we're not a member of CERG, that's $16,000 a year, roughly.
Mhm.
We lose hazmat. Okay, so when we have a hazardous spill or whatever the case may be, they don't come, well, they'll come, but then we're gonna pay the full rate, whatever that might happen to be, for whatever it is they have to mitigate. Whereas being a member of CERG, they mitigate, there's no additional charge.
I see,
Mhm.
I see.
with CETA, we sit on that board, she does. And, but there's also private, it didn't used to be this way, but there's 15 members on the board, I believe. There's 5 supervisors, and then there's private and there's business.
Yeah, and even some, yeah,
Okay, and so what you have is you have 5 supervisors who can be outvoted by 10 private and, or 5 private, 5 business, but it directly impacts our funding.
Where are those meetings at?
at the CETA office on West Second Street.
Somewhat.
Yeah, used to be an old grocery store.
So Area 15 Regional Planning and Area 15 RPA, which is our transportation affiliate.
Mhm.
We pay dues to those. So if we don't belong to Area 15, then we lose out on grant writing and things that Area 15 Regional Planning does for our cities and so on and so forth. For RPA, we could lose out on federal transportation dollars because of the way that it's established. So everything is interlocked. But if you remember, we sat here and talked to Dave from DHS and I asked the question, why the hell am I paying $10,000 for your phones? Why am I paying $7,000 for your office stationery? Why am I paying $7,000 for data processing? His comment, if you remember, was because the code says you have to. So we get reimbursed money for cost allocation services,
Yeah,
indirect costs and direct costs, you're familiar with that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it helps offset some of those costs to DHS. It's a shell game, in my opinion. Okay,
big.
but there's still, why are the taxpayers of Jefferson County paying $10,000 for phones of people probably that aren't in the office?
They haven't been in the office much for
Right.
4 years.
That the state should be paying for. It's a state office. They're state employees. So I agree with you, Susie. We look at everything. But those things, you know, I think we cut the Mazda Barnes back a couple of years ago to
Yeah.
$5,000.
Correct.
So what are you gonna cut them back to? If you're going to maintain it, we're having this big conversation with the city, rightfully so. We're having this big conversation with the city. But then if we cut them, they ain't gonna be a Barnes anyway, so then why are we having a conversation with the city? And so all of those little 2,500 deals, we spent $2,500 for 1015 transit. What does that pay for? Really doesn't pay for much of anything. Not anymore. We continue to contribute it to help fund veterans' rights. But the $25,000 doesn't even come close. I mean, it helps to be sure, but that's what it's for, is for veterans' rights. But do you cut it? You say, no, we're not going to do this? Okay. Russ, $9,500 to belong to Russ. What are we paying for that? Well, Russ maintains all the sewer systems. But the reality of it is that they get paid through the sewer systems to maintain the sewer systems. So the $2,500 or I'm sorry, the $9,500 is basically a membership fee.
Mhm.
We can't really vacate Russ because we have sewer systems in Jefferson County. But the other aspect of that is that, for example, if X doesn't pay in some community, that's like East Pleasant Plain, for example, or Linby, because those are county,
Mhm.
we pay it, then we have to put it on the property tax and hope you collect it on the property tax. So there's upfront costs that are associated with that above and beyond the $9,500. I think we budgeted about between $6,000 to pay those bills. Of people that don't pay the bills. All of those things. This is why when I went back and we talked about earlier today, when I talked about the $10,000 for the HR.
Mhm.
It's all of those things that add up. It's not just the 10, but when you start, you know, you can get a pretty good pile there when you start looking at well, just the 7,500 piece for stationery and data and 10,000 for phones. There's 25,000. You know, 10,000, there's 35,000, 44,000 for the library. I mean, 140,000 for court services. And a lot of those things we're paying for people, we're a court advocate. Okay, the folks that use the court advocate, they need it and they don't have any funding, and I understand that. Just like conversation we had with medical examiner. Our autopsy costs have increased from about 30-some thousand to 50. Not because they were doing anything wrong. The professionals are very good at what they do, but the state, in my humble opinion, should be paying those costs. That's a mandated increase in costs that we had absolutely no control over and we can't change. But we have to budget for that. So those are the things and that directly comes out of the supervisor's budget. So I just gave you $100,000 worth of cuts right there that are being mandated.
Shannon can read minds.
No, Abby's going.
I figured that.
Thank you.
Because she's like us. Thank
Well,
you.
one thing that's killing Van Buren County is this forest reserve. And
Yes.
I've had conversations with people that own forest reserve. They expect roads there, electricity, but they don't want to pay for the services.
No.
And they need to pay a portion. I ain't saying the full tax, but a portion. And they've been fighting that up there at the legislature. Too many of them guys up there
Have,
own forest
Yeah.
reserves, so they don't want it taxed.
yeah,
But if you stop and think about it, a lot of them's got trees planted there that is gonna be harvested in the future. So they are actually have a growing income there.
yeah.
They should be taxed. So,
You're right. Ever since I've been a member of the Board of Supervisors, Susie, what was Happiest County Supervisor was Jody and Dean. I can't remember Dean's last name. Manchester?
I don't think so.
Anyway, they first brought it to my attention down there from Appaloosa County. And
it's basically the bottom two tiers is where the big problem is.
two of the most hilarious people in the world was Dean and Jody. I'm telling you, they keep you in stitches.
What about forest reserve to cut firewood on and sell it every day? Commercially,
They're not supposed to.
you do it right here in Jefferson County.
Yep,
How about when they got forest reserve and they sell leases off of it to hunt?
yep, they're not supposed
You
to.
can't shoot an arrow through that field, you hit a tree. They do it all the time, especially right behind me. And my neighbor to the north still got that fence in front of the city or the easement that
Yeah, that's something that needs to be talked about
I'm
sometime.
watching there. He's got 4 more new all around huts. They're like $1,300 to rent them out for a week. Pull them back in there and oh, he's going strong. He ain't making it during quarantine. I don't feel so bad coming up and paying my taxes now. Listen to them, he's paying the second half of them today. And that has tripled since I took over from Dad. It was about 3,300 or something like that, maybe. Now it's 15,000.
You wanna pay mine?
Well, I ain't got as much ground as you got.
Mine's double that.
Well, yeah, if you got more ground, but everybody around me, when I was sick and got hurt, everybody's looking through my goddamn windows and shit. Next door over here at the recorder's office, is that where they do the death certificates?
Yeah.
Cause see, when I have a paper no more, this place over here might as well just close up, might as well rent that out and have a dance or something there. They were coming up here wanting a copy of my death certificate. So my daughter ended it with them. She said, "You ever come around this again?" I was in the hospital. I didn't know. I just got a phone call.
5,000
Oh, the shit's.
What are you looking at, Lee?
are expenses.
Mayor.
I suppose. It'd be good. Nice day outside. I can't really complain.
It is a nice day.
I'm gonna clean my shop up a little bit after a while.
Sorry. They wanted a death certificate of somebody that wasn't dead.
To see my kids don't put it in the paper. And they had cameras at my place. And the sheriff out here in Lebowski, can't think of her name, caught somebody looking through my windows.
Ah, okay.
So it was either if I trespass them, they'll tell me who it is. If I don't, they don't say anything. So we found out and, well, I didn't see your truck around. I said, I see your footprints outside my, you gotta be careful, don't come up and look at my windows and to kennel my dogs for when I was in the hospital was $3,100
Wow.
kennel fees.
Where'd you do that at?
Huh?
Where'd you do that?
Out on,
Rough.
yeah, Brookville Road, yeah. My daughter did, I didn't.
Yeah. Student resource officer.
But they walk them 4 times a day, feed them, they're climate controlled. So I'm just now getting all those shit wrapped up. Combine parts got delivered the other day for fall.
Good.
They even delivered it. Put it on pallets and oil and everything. Yeah, one guy was wanting to rent the farm next from me. Well, he's not around, I'll rent it. I wasn't even cold yet. Then you come out by my field. I was sitting there watching it this morning. Across from me, they put in all this goddamn tiling last year when there was no crop in it last year. So they tiled it. They were out there, oh God, from August on clear, well, they still are. But they got all the tiles done and they just destroyed that field with drains and terraces. Oh my God, it's steeper now and it worst, it bad. So guess what they're doing this morning out there? They're cleaning out the tiles with a tractor and there's ruts out there in that. They put rye in, or whatever to grow last year, because they had no crops last year. It's all out pour up. That tractor's cutting down black dirt, spinning and cleaning out around those little orange pipes sticking up. It looks like my kids did it when they were like in second grade.
Kidding.
And they're out there and there's a white truck, the boss sitting up there on the white truck in the terrace, and there's a guy out there in that tractor. And they just go, there's tracks all over. So I drove by there and I said, idiots. But they're one of these big farmers that gotta go when they can.
We're still on Zoom.
Yeah. Really? So I can actually see somebody on there?
They see you.
That's all right. And the camera? I made him take him out of my house there. You know, I gotta come here to watch them. I can watch him on TV on Looney Tunes or Disney Channel.
Right after SpongeBob.
I was gonna come in and get breakfast with you this morning, you know.
Right after SpongeBob.
Yeah, you know, Bluey's on then, the dogs are watching that.
Forward liability.
What page are you on, Wayne?
I'm on
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's here.
His.
Before the line starts over here, I better go over there and get them that. The county don't run out of money.
Huntress and AV Defender.
Yeah, I figured, I'm just was gonna bring those up, the point we're spending and that stuff.
Yeah.
What did they say just a second ago? Oh. I need it. Where'd it go? Forward liability.
There's 2 lines of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was off on our hazmat, it's 13,000, it's a change. But the cost, you know, you're rolling the dice. I can't remember the last time we used hazmat, but I do know we used them, it was a paint spill. Somebody, what was the spill, somebody dumped paint into a storm sewer.
Drain. Garage drain.
But when you do use them, you're going to exceed the 13,000. It's kind of like insurance.
Hmm.
The Ahead Regional Housing Trust Fund, that's $3,100. We got $2,000 budgeted for the Fairfield Community Center. Not sure what that's for. $2,500 to transit, and as I indicated, that goes to help with our veterans transportation. We did cut the barns back to 4,000. Contribution to the Bonneville cabin, 1,000. We cut the fair board back 50% to 11,000.
Yeah.
Labor relations we still have, that's 200,000. I see 10,000 for telephone and telegraph. I'm a little curious on that one. But it doesn't necessarily surprise me. 6,700 on dues and memberships, that's probably ISAC, excuse me. We'll start with an I.
Dementia.
Yeah.
Lee, do we have
Not wrong.
a copy of the city's budget?
I'm
I'm just
not
curious.
sure they finalized one yet, so
Okay.
I guess
Okay.
I don't have one. So we cut buildings by almost 30,000 2 years ago to 65. There you're hedging your bets. I mean, there's things that probably need to be done that we're kicking a proverbial can down the road,
Yeah.
but miscellaneous, the 5,000 is for the student resource officer at Cardinal. It's just under miscellaneous.
Yeah, talking about the resource officer, I was looking the other day, we have a contract with Pekin. It goes to from 22 to 24.
Yeah.
Do we have a current one? Have they upped that? Just curious.
As far as the length of time, or?
Yeah, have they extended the time on that?
No, the sheriff's office is on.
We have
Okay,
like through June of 25.
they do. When did we get that?
They brought a copy of it in the other day.
Okay,
I've
See,
got it on
they-
my
well,
desk.
good, because
Yeah,
that's
they end up paying for that. So,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the student resource officer for Cardinal it's an agreement that we have. I don't know what our percentage is, but it's pretty low because Wapello County funds most of it, and Cardinal and Wapello County. The deputy comes from Wapello County. Tom could speak to it better than I can, but it's just a contribution that we make to help fund that officer. And Cardinal, as you're well aware of, faces the same problems Beacon does.
oh, absolutely.
Everybody does.
Well, I don't mean, don't
I
miss
mean,
that
they
didn't
have
sound right.
people up there that ask them questions too, huh?
Well, it's just, we put a resource officer at Pekin through an agreement with Pekin, but they're out in the middle of nowhere. And whether they come from Keokuk County or whether they come from Jefferson County, it takes time
Yeah.
to get there, and a lot can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Same situation
more
with
than one.
Cardinal, they're out and out. It's not a reflection upon our
Well, it is
officers or our
now.
deputy or our
No,
sheriff.
not at all. She's doing a very good job out at
Yeah.
Pekin, but we never hear from,
Anymore,
we never hear
things
from,
escalate pretty big and fast.
Yes, yeah.
we've never heard from Wapello County.
No. I don't know if Tom's still on that school board or not.
I don't think I don't know if he is or not. I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I don't know whether it is or not.
People today aren't throwing rocks at each
I
other.
don't think so.
Okay. 7,600 for computer software. I'm assuming that that's one of our fees for. And then tort liability, 130,000 or 110,000. And that's lawsuits, but I suppose that's to hire outside attorneys. I don't know exactly. for those things that our county attorney can't take on, or where there might be a conflict.
Office 365.
Yeah. So the way that the system's designed now, just so everybody knows, Office 365, we pay for that for all of the computers or all the offices or whatever you want to call it. You cannot go and buy Office 365 anymore and install it on your computer. It's an annual fee. And so your Word and your Excel and PowerPoint and all those things that are included in Office 365, we pay an annual fee for.
That's just 7,600, is that?
Yes.
Saying, okay.
On the telephone and telegraph that you made mention of on the 10,000.
Yeah,
That also includes or is the cloud.
okay. I think you heard me, Susie, is before Joe got here, I argued that we got so damn many backups. But we back up everything multiple different ways and so on and so forth. Hard backups that go to the bank, and I mean, every single day we're backing up. But we're backing up to the cloud now too. And I just think sometimes we, you know, you know, the old saying, you can become insurance poor. And sometimes I think we are approaching being insurance poor. Because if you remember, we have conversations with Joe Vins from ICAP. At one point in time, we were paying, what was it, $15,000 a year for some cyber protection thing
Yeah.
with a $50,000 deductible.
That's in your insurance now.
Yeah,
You guys decided that, so it's part of that cost.
yeah. I just felt like for $65,000, I could replace every damn computer in the county.
Maybe
You could hire an IT guy to do that.
Well, and I would go back to,
Trouble is, they get sick.
well, one of the things that they're talking about is this $50,000 deductible was, and yes, it's included in our ICAP now. It was a separate insurance policy. But we had to pay the first 50,000. So what they were talking about, this was ransom protection. So Joe Blow comes along and he hacks us, and then he says, I want $250,000. We pay the first 50,000 plus $15,000 for insurance. Then the insurance company pays the rest, and then they raise our premium. Well, Wapello County didn't have any insurance, and they got hacked, and they paid $250,000 to get unhacked. And I said, well, I can replace all my computers and my server and get unhacked. So Wapello County goes out because they got hit. So they go out and they buy insurance. I turn around and got hit again. Plus they bought protection to not get hit. And one of the things I can tell you about these people that do this is they figure out a way to get around your firewalls. Somebody develops a new firewall, they figure out a way to get around it. It just, anyway, so $110,836 for tort liability. You know what that is? Gotta find out.
He's actually just left.
Could be too.
You scared her off, Lee.
Well, she did say yes,
She'll
she knew
come
what
back
it was
tomorrow.
before she left. Yeah.
That might
could
be
be
what
right.
it is. She's going out and getting her car and take off now.
Yeah. She had Christie here.
Every day at work, we had a marijuana deal where you come up and then outside company would pick 5 people a day. And you come up and the HR would say, you, and you, as they come in, and they would be off the list. Well, one day I come in and one guy kept getting hit about it just happened to be his name come up. One day this other guy come in and he goes, you, and he just went right back out, got in his car and left. And 3 days later, they fired him. He says, why get a charge against me?
Yeah, I get it. Oh, So she's got everything color coded.
Do you expect anything else?
Well, no, I'm happy you came back.
So. Part of that is the entire county contribution for ICAP, the producing agents fees, and your cyber insurance. Equals 100,760.
So that's our insurance fee for ICAP is included in that.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you need to see any of that paperwork, I
Oh,
have
that's-
that. And then.
so that's not an item we could cut, is what I'm saying.
Right, and then it's also part of the service agency.
Okay.
That's $1,425 of it.
Yeah, focus on that, I'll put that, I guess. You haven't paid them yet? Second half. The March first, right? Or that's the first, whatever.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I
March
just, I would
31st.
never, I
That's
forgot
what
about that
penalty is.
altogether. I gotta dig that out.
That will be
Yeah.
money.
That's when the penalty goes.
Oh, March
grandmother.
30th, into March.
In the March.
Yeah, into March.
They're
I still need to dig it out and keep it where I can see it.
It's right there on the front of my safe. Every time I open that safe, it comes out and tells me every day.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not below zero outside.
yeah.
So it's all of those.
So it can't be cut. Okay. I thought maybe it was to buy tortoises. I don't know.
Just for
Protect your tortoises.
Yes, sure ain't gonna buy rock.
You never know. Tort liability, tax tortoises.
No.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's logic in that. I'm not,
Sure there is.
yeah.
You tell yourself that.
I better check that out, make sure that's just so that.
Okay, so recycling.
We have next page. Yeah,
So you see it,
What page, Joe?
5
fine,
toward the
down at the
bottom,
bottom,
it's like 25,000.
that's what we pay Conley. He hasn't, Richie hasn't increased any fees, right? Yeah,
Nor is he going to,
right,
you know.
but that's what our portion is. City also pays some towards that. But,
And I just visited with Elizabeth this morning. Evidently she's on, the mayor had told me to contact Doug Flournoy, of which I haven't been able to do.
right, okay,
He's not returning his calls or anything. But turns out he is not the person that she told me we should contact. Today she told me, Judy Ham, Elizabeth Etsy. So I just asked Elizabeth to get a hold of everybody so we can extend that contract.
okay. So that's what that 25,000 is. The 85
What does that 25,000 get us then?
doesn't get us anything.
That's just part of the contract.
It allows the residents of the county to do recycling basically at no charge, other than there's certain items they have to pay for. I suppose
TVs.
electronic items.
Electronics and tires and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
That's why you find them out in the greater ditches.
Yeah,
Right.
Cross running out just before dark. You know,
Yeah.
fire, real dark one.
So, it's a question of, so I liken it to this. Years ago, the city of Fairfield had spring cleanup and fall cleanup.
Yes.
And you put stuff out on the curb and they'd come along, and they'd pick it up and they'd take it to the landfill. So then they eliminated one or the other. I don't remember which one because it became prohibitively expensive. Now over the years, they've eliminated both of them. So everybody understands recycling. Everybody understands the need for the recycling. But at some point you have to ask yourself the question. We're paying for what? Exactly what are we getting? So when Susie takes something to recycling, she can take the cardboard there and doesn't have to pay for anything. She unloads the cardboard. She can unload glass, she can unload magazines, all of that stuff, just like we used to do at
Waste management.
Waste Management.
Yes.
You go up there and they'd have these windows and they'd have gaylords by the windows and certain certain types of, like it's plastic, whatever. They don't do that anymore because they don't have the recycling contract. They have the contract with the city and they have what they call, anyway, everything goes in one bin and they crush it inside a crusher. Shove it into the back of the semi and take it up to Des Moines or somewhere. Out there, everything is still separated out to some extent. That's what we're paying for.
Okay.
I always have had the argument, figuratively speaking, and I don't mean an argument, I just mean those people that do recycling also get paid for the items that they recycle. Whether or not it's worth it to them to have recycling, I don't know. We took it away from waste management because it was $50,000 a year and they wouldn't drop the price. And then if you notice, they walled up their building. Their little secret was that, well, I didn't get down that road. So anyway, the point is that's how we ended up with Conway. He was significantly less. And Richie's has maintained that, but that's what that.
Yes, maybe if I could say something, Richie has cleaned that place.
Oh,
up.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, he had a mess out there and he's
Yeah.
cleaned it up. You know,
And I take a lot of stuff out there, I take a lot of trash out there, you know, I mean, stuff that you can't put in your trash can or whatever.
yeah.
That's that way I don't have to go to Simcoe, I can take it there, they're very reasonable. I don't have any issues, I'm just saying that's what that's for.
Yeah.
My wife takes stuff there too,
He's always on,
glass and
busy, he's
Metal
always
and-
busy,
Yeah.
magazines, newspapers.
especially now when it warms up, people are saving up all
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't have any issues with the money that we pay
Yeah.
Conley's.
so then you see down there on the bottom of that page, the contribution to the library is $44,288. That's a statutory requirement or mandate, whatever.
Lee, have you asked other counties what they do? Because they have libraries as well. Are they sticking to that or are they gonna buck the state?
I haven't found anybody that's willing to buck the state in anything. They give it a lot of lip service, they agree with me,
Oh, yeah.
that's as far as it ever goes. And I guess what I'm saying is that not knowing exactly what the state's intent is, I don't think the legislators know what their intent is. I think that it's a knee-jerk reaction. I don't mean that disrespectfully to anybody, but I think it's a knee-jerk reaction. When you know, the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But nobody thinks about what you just said earlier, Joe, when you were talking to Dwayne. And of course, I realize you were joking to a certain extent about the rock in the driveway. But the point is that he's gonna have a conversation with Farm Bureau, the same conversation that we had. I don't want you raising my taxes and I don't want you cutting roads budget. That was the first thing out of their mouth. Well, someday that twain is not going to meet. And roads are gonna have to be cut if things continue to go the same way that they're going.
You know, that's too bad because Dwayne has put more rock on the roads than they're.
Well, yeah, and again, it was just a joke. It was just a.
I sat in the same chair and now the last couple of years I've been in here, I understand. We have to pay taxes if we want services. And I understand it now.
And like I explained earlier, when you have a hard cap and other entities control your revenue stream, which in this case is the state, we have to live with that hard cap, but nobody's capping the costs that we have to pay for out of that fund. And therein lies the issue. Joe Benz isn't capping his costs. I'm not saying he's trying to rob us. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the insurance costs are gonna go up. I asked the question, you were all sitting here. With all of the fires out in California, I said, are we gonna have to pay for that too? And he wasn't emphatic, well, yeah, you're gonna have to, but he recognizes, as do we, that those costs are gonna be passed on, just like the hurricanes and stuff in North Carolina and Florida. You know, at my insurance man at local level, American Family, my RV insurance went up because of all of the stuff that got destroyed down in Florida. We only pay for things out of tax dollars, whether it's property tax dollars, federal tax dollars, or state tax dollars. In other words, our farm to market money is state, STP funds are federal. And all the rest of it that we put in there, we actually contribute very little money out of our budget to roads because of all of the money that he
Well,
brings in
that's-
from other sources.
When I was, Joe knows where I live. Every other road all the way over, which is farm to market roads that are around from Wayne Bowers and Silo. My front door is not a farm to market road. I thought, how many years is milk trucks, semis, diner gas? My semis run over that road and it's not a farm to market road and you're not a farm to market road. And I told the guy to go swim in the lake, so.
Well, and there again, so that's another thing that the state mandated. The state allows us so many miles of farm to market road. So I just pick an arbitrary number, 110 miles. So for me to put that road that you're talking about on the farm to market, I have to take another road off of equal distance.
Well, if you, and you do, you get together and you go for dinner and go out there and visit, I know. The last one to come out was you and engineer.
Dwayne.
Out there, out partying. And they drove out, I mean, they got there quicker than I got home, it was from here. And if I'd known that was coming out, I'd have cleaned up a little bit, but that is not. But if you go onto the roads, say going over between from Glasgow over to the old schoolhouse and stuff, the rocks that deep on it all piled up and stuff. Just take the excess off of that, I'd be happy with that. But they've been doing better. At least I don't have to.
But there again, that's what I'm saying is that for every mile I add, I have to take a mile off.
That's why I
We're
lost
only
my
allowed
road.
so many miles of farm to market road. I don't want to bring that up, but
How do they determine that?
it's just based on the number, you mean as far as the number of miles?
Yeah,
Wise
Yes, it's as
person
good as
somewhere.
Ain't like we're building any new roads around here. I lost about half mile of gravel on my other road. They stopped doing it now. They moved the sign up, the gravel ends, they pulled it up and moved it up about half a mile, stuck it back. There's no referendum on that. My farm just went down in value because of that.
So all that stuff that we went through, the first page 2 and page 3, that was all general basic. That's where the statute limit is gonna be capped. Okay, the general supplemental, we're not capped there. Rural basic, technically.
see you, Ron.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ron.
That's all right.
We will be.
Come up and see where our money's being spent.
Just leave some.
I am, I'm gonna pay my bill right there's a check. Need a receipt.
So. I don't know what you wanna do. And I know what I'd like to do, just for the sake of argument. I'd like to cut $25,000 out of DHS budget, and I'd like to say no to 44,000 in the library.
And I'll bet you 6 months from now, we wish we would have done it.
I don't know what would happen. I don't know that anybody particularly has that answer. I'm sure that Dave would be on the phone, understandably so. If I was him, I would be too. Both to us and to the state going, you know what those so-and-so did
How many years have they been out there?
at Maple Street building?
Yeah. I guess,
10,
how many counties does that cover?
all of them that we had before. We
Yeah.
just managed to,
Yeah.
20/20 hindsight, right? I rethink it now, but at the time, they were across the street.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And so the state downsized. So Washington County had built a new building up there. I don't know if you know where it was at or not, but you go north on one and then first pavement back to the west. There was some apartments in there too.
Correct. Kind of down where the
Similar to
county is.
Jackson Point. They've copy machines in there, so they built a new building in there, and that's where DHS was housed among other services.
So why can't some other county take that over?
They could, but we made a concerted effort to keep it here because we didn't want our folks to have to go out of town. To go to Washington to get the services because they were gonna close an office. They closed Van Buren. They closed Washington and they combined them to here. Because we bought that building and renovated that building for DHS, so the state said, hey, okay, good job, guys, thumbs up. They kept the office, the state kept the office in Washington. And they used to go up there 1 or 2 days a week for, say, from 8 to noon or whatever up there. I don't know if they still go up there on a regular basis or not. I don't know the answer to that. But I know that Dave made the comment that they were bringing people back. So they haven't had people here for a couple of years. And so basically you have a conversation, you know, you have to call and say, hey, yada, 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 whether or not you can make an appointment or whether you, I don't know how they handle business. But, and I know we've talked about, you know, and I guess that's the $64 question. If we say we're not gonna fund it anymore, would they go back to Washington and use this office on a part-time basis?
Do we get some money from Van Buren County or Washington County because we're housing them here or not?
We get money, we hire a company, and it's in here somewhere, I'd have to find it, but we hire a company called Cost Allocation Services. And they sit down and they figure out all of the indirect and direct costs and how much it costs to run this and how much it costs. And it's not just DHS, it's several factors, and then the state reimburses us a certain amount of money. I don't know what it's 16,000, 20,000, somewhere in that range, I think. Which helps cover some of the costs, for example, that we incur in DHS. It's another one of those shell games. But my point is that we have there's those costs that you don't figure into your budget, really, but like all the time and effort we spent cleaning the basement out multiple times. Okay, and they don't consult us when they want to go buy a new desk, they go buy a new desk. But then the old desk becomes our responsibility to get rid of, but they never asked our permission to buy a desk.
I think it's time we say, don't put anything else down there. It's your responsibility.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we just have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, and so these, you know, I really do hate to be a horse's platoon, but the point is I go back to what I said. We have a hard cap. And the costs in that fund are not capped. So they're going to continue to increase with a hard cap, and depending upon what the state does in regards to taxable valuations and how much they increase percentage-wise will also impact what we can or cannot do. So we just have to be cognizant of that moving forward, which is why I've used the term during this entire budget session when we're talking to folks. We've got to be able to sustain whatever it is that we do, knowing that we're going to face a hard cap. Unless something changes between now and 2029. And Shannon has recommended, and I don't disagree with her, that we don't lower or don't roll back that 32 cents to help build up our ending fund balance. Because when we hit that hard cap, as she indicated, based on the current numbers, a $394,000 a year deficit. So if you have a $2 million ending fund balance in 5 years, you've eaten up your ending fund balance with the current, if you were in that hard, fast cap. I don't think anybody outside of us, I mean, boards of supervisors, understand that.
I don't think
And
so.
I don't mean, I'm not talking about our employees and our department. I'm talking about the folks that are making the rules. unless that's the direction they want to go.
You know, years ago, you know, Governor Branstad closed 39 unemployment offices
Okay.
in the state, which left this area
Yeah.
with having to
Always
drive
does.
from Autumn all the way to Donaldson.
Yeah.
If you lived in Donaldson, you have to go all the way up there to get service.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen everywhere.
Well, I think it is, and I think that rural Iowa always takes it.
Oh, yeah.
Whose mental health hospitals did they close? They didn't, they closed rural Iowa's, right along the southern tier. Okay, rural Iowa, and you know, you heard me rail on this before. We have more miles of county roads in Jefferson County than Polk County has.
Mhm.
But Polk County gets more money because it's population based in part.
Yes. Well, when he closed those offices on, like, say 34,
Right.
from Clarinda to Mount Pleasant,
Yeah,
you know, the lower two counties in Iowa are the most poverty stricken.
yes,
So let's,
have the least amount of financial resources to
Right,
travel to Polk
absolutely.
County or wherever
yeah,
to get to their loved ones. So, but back to the task at hand. So there it is in a nutshell, folks.
I feel better just going back over it.
So we talked about 7%. Is that where we want to stay? Shannon figured for us or Abby figured for us.
They figured that into all the.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when we figured because you asked about 5% early
Sure.
on. I think it was Abby or whether it was Shannon, but they come up with 360,000. That did not include IPERS and Social Security. So I just estimated that would push us somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 for 5%.
Mhm.
I'm figuring 7% probably without IPERS and Social Security probably will put us right at 500,000.
You're frowning too. I thought it was like 320,000.
For 5%, in my opinion, I thought it was 360, but
That would not be the correct.
I don't know.
they color code your folder. I expected more from her. Both folders, all in the same colors. I should have wrote her for the same thing. She made the dean's list, did you know that? Yeah. So nice, did you know that? Yes, different dean's list, but I made it.
You made the dean's
I
list
sure did.
for the times going in to check on them or?
Yeah, for there's the good students dean list and the bad students dean's list.
Oh,
You sit there and surmise which dean's list I made. Well, my point is that
To go from 7% to 6%, and that includes spike and IPERS, was roughly 75,000.
okay. So if you go from 5% to 7%, it'd be roughly 150,000.
Yes.
So add that to 320,000 and you're 470,000. So that's what I'm saying. 500,000. Not arguing, I'm just saying that we kind of, and when we talked to Farm Bureau, we indicated 7%.
yeah. That's kind of what we've indicated to the employees too.
And I have no clue what, as you indicated also at Farm Bureau, we have no clue what we will be able to do, if anything, next year.
Yep.
I don't know if that figure you gave us includes the 0 for us, but we're not.
I believe, I don't wanna say, because I don't remember where in that process I figured.
But I would like to point out that it's not a huge dollar amount, and I get that, but if we hadn't taken 0 for the last 3 years, we'd be making roughly $7,000 a year more than what we're making right now, so there's $21,000 that we don't have in the budget. And that's not including IPERS and Social Security, that's just on the wages. So I think, it's important to look at, but we didn't do raises last year. They've got all of the same costs and stuff that the folks that are paying the bills have. And when I say paying the bills, I mean the ones that are paying the property tax. It's true, they're all paying property tax as well. Not to be horses, but it's easier to pay property tax when you're getting paid out of the property tax you're paying as opposed to paying property tax and saying, well, I need rock on my road and I'm not getting rock.
Abby, what percent is IPers?
It's different, but for the
And-
majority was 9.44%.
Yeah, the sheriff's office is more than that, right? Is that
It's,
12 something?
Mm-hmm. Well,
That's 7.65 for social security.
Why is the
As
sheriff?
long as we still haven't.
it's been really low.
Why do they get more?
They've always been less.
Really?
Mhm.
So it's just to catch up. At what point will we be caught up or is that continue?
But
I think they had an earlier IPers retirement capability and their pension was vested sooner.
That's right. That's something, they can only work till they're 65, is that correct?
Yeah,
Or
sheriff,
folks like,
yeah, sheriff can go longer because he or she is an
Sure,
elected official, but yeah,
That's the deputies 65 is a
65. But they can get full IPers at a lower age.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what it is. Well, I guess they're not on, but. Yeah, they can get, their pension is vested sooner than the average person. Yeah. And then they don't, there's an age thing, years of service and your age has to equal a certain amount.
like that rule of 88.
Yeah, but with the deputies, law enforcement, I think it's less.
Okay.
12.677%, essentially.
Now, is that what we pay?
Yes.
Okay. And then the employee pays as well, but, so we're paying roughly, round figures, let's say 10%.
Yeah.
And, at 7.65%. So if you're paying somebody $100,000 a year in wages, add 17.65% to that. So there's another $17,000. While the employee doesn't technically get that in their paycheck, it costs the county.
Yeah.
They'll eventually get it, IPers.
And so, I mean, that's, it is what it is. And we have, but I'm just saying that what's what I'm looking for? Have all the same expenses, I guess, what I said before, that everybody else has. They gotta pay $6 breaks, just like other people do. Okay,
They should be buying them that.
yeah,
They're a little higher than that.
they are cheaper at Dutchman.
$3.99
and
Saturday, Friday.
Yeah, I wonder how old they are.
the small chickens.
Even Aldi's was almost $7.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. So anyway, do we want to officially stay at 7% so that when we look at the timeline and it's before us, that she has that figured in?
She's already figured that out, hasn't she?
I think that's what's in there, but we didn't officially make it
That's
official.
correct. So are you wanting a vote on that?
Well,
An
I
official
think so.
vote?
I mean, I think, yeah, I just would like for us to say, yes, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, and it would be official.
Yeah,
We'd vote on it. Everybody knows it's 7. So
so,
are you making the motion?
yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so we're good there.
Except for Abby, I need to change that back.
Okay, 6.5.
She's gonna get an 8%.
So what do you want to do? You know, my feeling, I think it's a positive, but what do you want to do on the HR contract?
Well, during the ambulance debacle, he earned his keep.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
That was, that's a topic for another day with me. I don't mind finding another person to do that. And I guess Christie has said the auditor's office will do that. I just want to, I would like personally assurances and I see, what are we gonna do for a lawyer? Or are we gonna, I don't want to talk to Paul Grafoof. I don't want him.
No, I don't disagree with you.
Because
I think that is.
He showed his colors, but.
Yes, I think that's counterproductive. I agree with you 100%. Given the circumstances and the involvement. I like Paul. I've known Paul a long time, but
I didn't
I
like the Paul
believe
that showed up that day.
well, I do believe that behind the scenes, he's advising, I let's move past that.
I can read your mind.
Okay, but I do think that, we could certainly, if it's something that Chauncey can't deal with because of conflicts or he feels it's outside his area of expertise, though, like I said, we did have a circumstance that arose here that he handled quite well. So I think he's shown, flexibility and dexterity, if you will, in being able to, to do those sort of things. I'm not terribly worried, but if we got to a situation, he could probably guide us in a direction.
Oh, between him and Elizabeth, we have good counsel as far as I'm concerned.
So, and I think bringing it back in-house, I mean, I would argue whether or not you even need it other than you call somebody on it. But I will tell you, just for record, and I don't know if she's even still in business, don't know. But back when we did the handbook in 2012, I believe that's right. Or was it 2019? 2012 was Paul Grew, 2019. I brought Gayla Harrison over here from the top one. Gayla indicated that she would rewrite the handbook in its entirety for $1,500 from scratch.
What's her background?
She's an attorney.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
didn't
no,
know.
I worked with Gayla. She was the attorney for OTA, Tunnel Transit Authority. And I worked with Gayla on CETA. She was at CETA quite a bit. She was the attorney for CETA. She wasn't on the board. And so that's how I knew Gayla. And so I called her and she came and gave a bid and she met with us. Dee had a fascination with Allers and Cooney. And that's who they ended up going with Allers and Cooney. Cost us over $6,000 to get that handbook written, and they never set foot inside this office. Everything was done by phone, and if they determined that the questions we were asking were outside the scope of the contract, they charged us per hour. They cost us over $6,000 to get done what Gayla would have done for $1,500. And I don't know that Gayla is still around, and I don't mean that, I don't know if she's retired, I don't know. I have not talked or seen Gayla, talked to or seen Gayla for years. My point is that you and I, we know.
Yeah, what are other counties doing?
Well, a lot of counties actually have paid HR. It's a position. A lot of counties do like we did for years and years and years, where we didn't do anything. And there was the general consensus was that there was never a need demonstrated. But circumstances changed in terms of federal laws and so on and so forth. And so some of them farm them out, some of them share.
Yeah, I was just looking at the job sharing.
Yeah.
But still, it's quite a bit of money.
So I'm a little
So
bit.
she evidently still in business. So Gayla's still in business. Whether or not she would,
She practices in employment law, business and corporate law, and civil litigation.
So she's got HR experience.
Yeah.
She works at, Harrison, Moreland, Weber, Simplot,
Oh,
and Sierra.
I know.
I think she's right across the alley there from Canteen. Is that
Correct,
where-
correct.
yeah, okay.
So I'm.
And I would be more than willing to reach out to her to say, hey, would you contract on a as-need basis? If they had some questions, wanted to reach out, much like what we did with Bob Breckenridge. The reason I wouldn't go back to Bob, honestly, is because he had a heart attack and I don't know if he's trying to wind down or not.
Yeah,
So I'm a little confused here. You're talking, if I'm understanding right, if we bring HR back in here to the auditor's office, you think we need to hire an attorney for a retainer?
no,
Or
no,
get
no, that's not,
somebody-
I said we already have good legal counsel.
Yes. So I mean, if you need to go outside, maybe I'm reading you wrong.
Well, just to bring you up
He's
to
the one that
speed.
started that.
The previous county attorney's office, when Tim was here and Pat was here, they didn't want to deal with employment issues.
Okay,
And Pat recommended Bob Breckenridge. And I knew Bob from 1015 Transit,
Mhm,
because he's our attorney.
mhm.
So I called and talked to him and he goes, yeah, I'd do it. He says, I'd do it for $150 an hour, just on an as-need basis. Whatever you call,
Mhm.
whatever. So we entered into an agreement to do that. At some point, then the previous board decided that they wanted to go in a different direction. So we just had him, not really on a retainer, was just on an as-need basis. He would charge us $150 an hour and it was under contract. During the course of the 2 years that he was under contract, he billed us a total of $455. I don't know what it was for. I know it was Chauncey that reached out to him. I know that. I wasn't, privy to that information because I wasn't on the board, so I shouldn't be privy to it. But anyway, that's my point. So now they entered into an agreement with Jack. And so we're in the third year of the agreement. And which will end June 30th, I believe.
But we have to let him know 2 months ahead of time.
I
Is that
don't,
correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the contract states it's just done.
Yeah, it's done on June 30th.
But don't we have to let him know?
No, but we have to let him know if we want to renew it. But otherwise, I do believe that it,
I think courtesy would a lot, would.
Sure, no, I don't
we're
disagree with
done,
that.
you know.
but then, so the question then, I misunderstood. I thought the question was if we need some expertise outside of our ability or outside his comfort zone. What I mean by that is that if he sees it as a conflict or something of that nature, who would we reach out to?
so do you think you need to contact somebody to have kind of a oral verbal agreement that you can reach out to them? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you could do a written agreement. It's what we did with Bob. We just had a written agreement. There was no cost
Okay.
associated with it unless we used them.
Okay, okay.
That's all.
So I'm not I'm not sure why you would want to do that.
I thought that's what you were talking about. That's why.
No, I just was,
Okay.
That's the
No,
way I
I'm-
thought it was you too, Tom.
so Christie, are you comfortable with the auditor's office taking this over? I know you have really good people. They're very highly, most of them are trainable. And I think you
Yeah.
probably have the resources right in your hand to be able to do this. One person that I know I've talked to you about that has worked for the state of Iowa could guide you, probably for no cost, how to get job descriptions, how to do all this stuff. I do believe you guys can do that. I always have an issue with confidentiality. I don't think anything would it can't leave your office with all that, you guys, wait, it just can't. But at least in my opinion, it should not. But a job, most of what Jack has done could have been just done with no cost by just like calling Christy Roush, she'll tell you everything. When it comes to the complaints and stuff like we went through for the ambulance, that'll haunt us for years.
And I would say just because I want to be professional. Uh,
Right.
I would say, well, no, I would say that there were, I don't know if I want to say, I don't want to know if I want to say unique contributing circumstances, but a perfect storm, if you will. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
creating a department heretofore we had never had before, and we had zero experience in any of it.
Mhm.
We made decisions predicated upon information available to us that we thought were the best
Mhm.
decisions. I do believe that the people were dedicated to the service, but I also believe that circumstances beyond our control
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
got out of control. And so I guess what I'm saying is that it's like a 500-year flood. It only happens once every 500 years. I
Or
think-
once every 500 and then next year it happens again.
Right,
For
okay, so
500 years,
to me, I think what we're looking at is circumstances that can be handled. And also, we've learned a
Mhm.
lot of things
Mhm.
from that process. I'm confident that they're capable of doing it. And some of those really off the wall hiccups that we've had to deal with, are a rarity, they're not the norm.
I would
And-
hope not.
Well, yeah. And then I do think also the experience that our attorney's office has garnered during that same process
Right.
will be beneficial as well.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that, right? But I have the utmost confidence in these girls. You know,
And we just keep Joe out of it.
well, there you go.
Yeah, so it's all good.
Don't you like me?
No, I like you. I like you, Bern Lee.
Oh, yeah. Hey, hey.
So is that a direction the board wants to move?
Christy, how do you feel? I want to know how you feel.
That's the only thing that I would feel inexperienced, which is why probably like more HR specific training would be things like terminations,
Mhm.
unusual terminations, I guess.
Mhm.
But you wouldn't be making the termination decision.
Right.
For example, Department A has an employee, an elected official, whatever. We have departments that we technically have jurisdiction over. And some of that process we delegate to the department heads within those departments. And some of those departments that are non-elected have governing boards,
Mhm.
i.e. like conservation or public health. The decision to terminate would lie within that realm, and of course, we would have to be apprised of it. We may ask your advice, what does the law say in this regard? Certainly, we would ask the attorney's advice, but the decision to terminate wouldn't be yours.
Right.
You might be part of the process in terms of keeping us apprised to make sure that we're not stubbing our toe from a legal perspective in regards to what federal law is or state law is or whatever, as well as leaning on the arm of the attorney's office. You would be essentially doing the same thing that our current contract is doing, which is advising us as to what the law says.
Right.
Plus, in that current contract, we're not indemnifying. Meaning that if the advice that we were given turned out to be bogus, then we got sued, we have no recourse in that contract. You say, well, it'd be no different with the auditor's office. You're 100% correct, but I'm not paying $10,000 to not have
Yeah.
recourse. And honestly, that's always bothered me, that we hire a professional and the professional says, but don't take my word for it.
And if there was, like private information, then we would need to use probably a different office to fill out paperwork and such. Which,
Well, she's got that big office downstairs.
yeah.
Hey, that's coming along real nice.
little desk in the corner. I would like, if you don't mind, could you ask Darcy to come over?
What did you say?
Darcy.
I thought she wasn't here.
She's here now.
Oh, Darcy works on Mondays?
I called and demanded that she get here, so
Oh.
she came.
Yeah, but children are priorities over you, lady.
Yeah.
I've been called a child before.
Did you tell him I said that?
I opened the door on that one, didn't I?
Should I say biological children?
Christie, I think you have enough. Whatever. You will be driven to do anything.
It's not a realm I come from, but I definitely
Yeah,
would be interested in
I worked
training.
there for a lot of years. I can help a lot.
See?
Yeah. They told me you didn't work on Mondays.
I try not to, but.
Yeah.
She knew Lee was gonna ask her a question, so she come in.
We've just been talking about the HR and with Christie. And I thought it was important to have your input as far as how you view, how you feel about.
I feel like our office is already doing half of the HR tasks. I think we've talked about benefits and Christy and I did look up a couple of sites that had some additional training that one or both of us could take.
You mentioned somebody that could help like with the job description.
Well, Christy Ross, she used to work with me at I Workforce. She knows the computer sites to go and just give a job description, just,
Generic.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Or the average wage you'd have to pay for the position,
mhm. So yeah, there's lots of resources
Yeah,
out there I feel
there
that we could reach out to, as well as still having somebody, on retainer or something, whether it's Chelsea or whoever, if something came up that we needed a bigger issue.
Well, we were talking, or I was talking about, in the past, we've dealt with Gayla Harrison. She's an attorney out of Atomo, employment law and whatnot.
Mhm.
If it was something that Chauncey and or Elizabeth felt was outside their expertise, or there was a conflict of interest or something was to arise
Mhm.
in a direction that we could go. In the past, we had Bob Breckenridge,
Mhm.
and I still deal with Bob through Transit and through Russ, but he's had a heart attack and that doesn't mean he's not doing a great job, but I'm not sure he necessarily be.
Christy, I guess I feel the biggest hurdle you have is FMLA.
Which, if you remember, we had one elected official that was very unhappy with the way that he handled that FMLA. I wasn't involved in it, I'm just.
Well, what I'm saying is that's the biggest hurdle,
Right.
Because these girls are they're doing most of it
Well,
anyway.
you handle the FMLA anyway, don't you? Just,
No, I refer him to Jack, and I think there's very little that he does with them, honestly.
Right.
I mean, I don't think FMLA paperwork gets filed anywhere with any state.
And I guess I'm very glad that we have a return to work policy now. Because there have been people that have gotten injured and returned to work with no signature, no paperwork. That needs a lawsuit. But
and I do think that one of the things that we need to do a better job of countywide is that if there is conversations between department heads and employees that result in, even if it doesn't result in discipline, if it results in a conversation, they felt the need to have a conversation. Conversation should be recorded, and I do believe it should be signed by the employee and the department head, and it should be filed.
so do I. Filed here?
Well,
Well,
The department head.
Yeah.
well, I think it makes sense to have a copy of both locations. Simply because department heads change,
Mhm.
elected officials will change. I just think the more records and I agree with Susie, it's confidential, but I think that if something was to come up, and again, it's something I
it
think we look,
protects us.
right, we go back and say, this is what we did,
Yeah.
this is why we did it,
Mhm.
these are the steps we've taken, and the employee signed off on it,
Mhm.
yeah. I just, we've been kind of lax in that forever, I mean, when I was here, way before.
Mhm.
And if a department head does a performance review, just a routine performance review, I think it needs to be recorded and I think it needs to be filed.
I agree with that as well.
And the board of supervisors, Dick and I and Steve, for that matter, other boards, we would do performance reviews. And like, for example, we did them on Scott. And I don't know that we ever recorded anything. We reviewed the contracts, we had talks with him, but again, part of the saying is that I personally dropped the ball, and I think we just need to do a better job of that.
Maybe come up to the, out of the dark ages.
Yeah, just that. Yeah, usually when we did performance reviews with Scott, it was around contract time. Because we had contracts with him, but just so you know. And one of the things I would do as an HR is make sure that these folders are coded. That not both.
It's not serious.
I was gonna say, I don't even know what's in those folders.
You're gonna have to add more money to the budget.
There's just-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my next question. If they're doing more, we should add a little bit more to their budget. Okay,
No, I'm fine with that. I mean, enough to buy a little debt down in the corner in the voter machine room.
Lee,
No, Christie mentioned that there would be some things that probably should be done outside the office.
For more privacy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
oh yeah,
So, however, keep in mind, just when we have an office upstairs on the third floor.
close to the bats.
Well, not quite. Well, I don't know. It depends on how you look at the assessor. Hi, Hillary. But close to Hillary's
Yeah,
office.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the conference room in the basement
yeah.
where the ambulance was, the front of the
Yeah.
building was
Don't
up.
they do the, no, is that in the other
It's
room?
separate.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, we have space available.
Mhm.
And I don't want to get crazy and give away that third floor office up there. Because Sandy's retired. Unfortunately, I think Leah's gonna be moving on somewhere. But that office will become available.
Mhm.
And there is an inner office in there, so it could be private. Just saying.
These kind of crack me up. Evaluate, update, rewrite, review, update, rewrite, review, update, rewrite. What?
Oh, next to it, on the left.
Oh, got you. Okay. I'm following along now.
I do think though, I
Mhm. Safety management. job
feel more
descriptions.
comfortable with a
Okay.
little training.
Sure, no, and you mentioned someplace that you talked to somebody and it would be.
ISAC recommended a couple.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I mean, I would absolutely concur with that. Information is education,
Yep.
Mhm.
so,
I think it's definitely less than $10,000, so.
yeah. So is that the direction the board would deduct, or not deduct, but unbudgeted, or however you want to look at it? Not renew the contract?
Not renew if you do it properly, you'll not renew the contract. You'll talk to Chelsea about what direction we're going. But I do believe you're gonna have to spend some of that $10,200 to help these ladies.
Yeah, I think you said it was, part of that was 400,
Almost
450.
like 450-ish or something per class, or 400 to 500.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it an online or you have to go someplace?
They were in-person meetings. Mhm.
And that would be for the both of you, so double that amount. Right?
Where would the trainings be?
They were
Las
in
Vegas?
Toying.
No, I-
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's one that meets twice a year. Some bars.
There's one of them, you had to be a member. I don't know what it's called.
Just do community college or state,
Or like state,
Mhm.
state board.
state.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm all in favor of it.
And then you get, there's, I'm sure there's resources that you would be able to access once you're in that area of expertise, if you will, that, like obviously she calls the Secretary of State's office, but in other words, what I'm saying is that there are areas that you can reach out to. And for that matter, you may develop relationships with HR people in other counties.
Mhm.
No, Washington County has a deputy that does HR. So maybe we can meet with her.
Mhm.
Coordinated on the same day as Josh goes up to meet with them on the billing, not just.
Yeah.
So, how about if we, I'm asking now from a budget standpoint, 2,500 in that line item.
You'd be going to Des Moines, you'd stay all night, would just be a day trip up and back.
I think most of them were 2 days.
Okay, so we stay all night, times two. I think 2,500 is not enough,
Okay.
because they're gonna need maybe to move stuff, they're gonna need 3,000-4,000 just to do this. To revamp their office.
So we put 3,500 in. And then we can always amend it if we need to.
Yeah, but I just think we need to do it right.
Okay.
And we've got the people that want to do it, right? We want to do it, I see.
So we'll change that line item. This line item.
To 3,500.
Are you
You
comfortable
are
with
okay
that?
with it, like. You're right.
So,
To 3,500. I'll write it down on there. And this will happen. Actually, we need to do this before fiscal year.
Correct.
So we'll have to find it somewhere in the budget now,
Well,
because you'll want to hit the ground running, right?
right.
In other words, you want to be ready July 1st. So scratch that. We'll just take that 10,200 out. And put 1,500 in there for.
Let's see when they are.
I think there was some in April. That's the ones that ring a bell to me, the April ones.
Would we terminate Jack immediately? Or would we?
It terminates
Wait.
itself.
Okay, I mean, would there be a chance we could terminate him now? Say, at this point, we're done with your services, thank you.
They need some training.
Well,
No, I'm trying to
We've
think
already
if
paid
if
for
we
it.
got money in with that.
we've already paid him,
Okay,
so we might as well get our goodie,
okay,
so to speak.
Yeah,
okay,
his contract's good till June 30th, ain't it?
okay.
Yeah. But what I'm asking for next year's fiscal budget, do we want to put 1,500 in there for outside expertise or additional training or something they may need?
Yeah,
Okay. And then what we'll have to do is we'll have to look to see where we can find some money in this current budget to help fund your training and whatnot, but we'll get it covered.
oh, yeah,
We take it out of the elections line, otherwise we're not having an election.
I was thinking, no,
I hope not.
I thought school board was coming back with something. You don't know, you haven't heard any rumors, okay?
They like to surprise us. We're always the last.
What's the soonest they can do that, March?
No, that would be gone.
Say September.
Like September.
Right.
We can probably do that.
Where
That'll
where
be
you
next
keep your
fiscal year.
files?
So we're gonna do this one.
Not in your office.
Mhm.
Where do you, oh, just in,
And we have
There's
locked
one
file cabinets in there, right next to me, like my personnel files.
Yeah.
And I don't keep anything in those that, other than tax withholding forms.
direct deposit stuff. There's no insurance information in those files or FMLA stuff.
Where do you keep them?
That is all stored electronically on a hard drive.
Okay. I have,
Unemployment or workers' comp stuff is all.
I have two friends that are both HRs out of traffic devices and stuff. And I know that the younger one, she's to be HR out at Fairfield. She could talk to you a lot about FMLA.
Okay.
And I know they do it.
Well, I mean, and as far as that goes, Jack and Chelsea could give us some training. That's already,
Oh,
we've already paid
right,
this.
we could utilize that.
Yeah. Up until June,
Okay.
I would think.
I think Chelsea's really sharp.
So, we put 1,500 in for next year's budget in that line item. That doesn't cover, we're not talking about covering the cost of their training.
You're gonna take care of that this year.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about having $1,500 in that line item.
What could come up over the next year?
Well, if you happen to have, if Chauncey said, hey, we need to reach out to,
So we do a budget amendment.
well, oh yeah, you could eliminate that, not have anything there, but what I was gonna say is that if Chauncey happened to come up and say, hey, we need to reach out to Attorney X. And,
And if they did $150 an hour, that's,
you know, or you have some additional training that you gotta do, or something comes up, or a membership fee, and maybe 1,500 is not enough, I don't know.
I would imagine it's not enough.
Okay.
What line item are you talking about? The one for Jack?
Yeah.
Has the 10-2 or whatever?
Yeah, so if you put 2,500 in there, if you don't spend it, it goes back into general
I
fund.
agree with that. But I just think you should put it in now,
No, yeah, I
so
mean,
they know.
right. And that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
you know, so you wanna do 25 then?
It's up to you. What do you guys think?
I think.
If you think
Fine.
more, just tell us.
Did you just go look at that email from ISAC?
Yeah, it was like April 2nd and 3rd, Iowa Workforce
See,
Conference.
that'll come out of this
Yeah.
year's budget, we're
Yeah.
talking about for next fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully we'll get most of it out of the way.
I'd say at least put 2,500 in.
We can do that, we can do 35, like I said, what we don't use will go back in.
Yeah, I understand.
50 grand. Put it in there.
3,500, what we don't use will go back.
Less is better.
75K.
I mean, it's there, we've already budgeted, our budget figured 10-2. So if we put 35 in,
We still save 6.
we have,
Do it.
yeah, and if we don't spend it, it goes back to the general fund. With the
Sure.
10-2, it's spent.
Yeah. Well, all I gotta say is things are gonna come up that we aren't aware of. They just
Right.
need to have the
Okay.
cash.
So
We got a candy jar.
we'll put 3,500 in that line item. And we acknowledge that we're not out to spend it.
No.
It's not a flat amount, like, this is not an indictment of Jack or anything. I'm just simply saying that the contract called for 10-2. So if we stayed with that, we're going to spend that 10-2, period. That's gone.
Mhm.
Here, we've got 3,500 in that line item, but we may only spend 15 or 2 or whatever, and it goes back in the general fund.
Yeah, I think this is it will be the initial year we do something like this. We're gonna learn from that.
Right. So you'll change that for me, okay?
And you think we should reach out to either Chelsea to see if she'd be interested in a part, like a as needed thing, or maybe that lady in Atumwa?
Yeah, either one, I mean, Chelsea, I think would be, I mean, since I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know. How do I want to say this? I don't want to end up spending $10,000 to save $10,000. But I also think that to Susie's comment, which I think is accurate, we'll learn after this fiscal year and have a little better handle on,
Mhm.
where things are at. The idea is And I don't know how she would feel about. Whereas if we if we reached out to say somebody like Gayla, who's local, well, they are too technically, well, I don't know whether she is or not, Jack is technically local, but to Gayla, say, hey, on an as-need basis, we could enter into some form of written agreement like we did with Bob. On an as-need basis, what would you charge us? What would your hourly rate be? And then charge us by the hour.
And that's only if Chauncey's not comfortable with her.
Right.
Situation.
Or if there's a conflict, sometimes a conflict may come up. You know. And what,
I think it would be fair to reach out to somebody like this Gala too, ask her what she charges for services like that. And also, hey Chelsea, we're not renewing our contract, but would you be willing
Yeah.
if we needed you in the future?
Yeah, times are tough. We've had to cut back.
Yeah.
and
What would
I
you
mean,
charge?
and if she's willing, I'm
See what the-
personally perfectly fine with that. And as far as conflicts go, in the legal world, what constitutes a conflict can really seem strange to us, but if it's a conflict, it's a conflict. And so, yeah, no, I mean, I'm perfectly happy with her in that regard, but I think that this is the right way to go. And I think in the long run, we'll be dollars ahead.
I mean, you've been quiet, which is abnormal. You have any opinions?
Nope.
Write that down, Lee.
Huh?
Write that down. Thank you.
No opinions.
At this time.
Yeah, looks like
At this
Chinese though. At this time, yeah, asterisk. Okay, so we officially set at 7%. We're going to go in a different direction with HR. Anything else? We've set timeline, or not set timelines, but
Lee, are you gonna go to the farm show on Saturday?
if I remember it, yes, I got it in my book. I just have to remember to look at the book.
No,
I think Joe said we're gonna have 4 chairs.
I need to request 4 chairs. They're gonna have, at the booth, there's 2 chairs and a table, unless you request more chairs.
Well, I can stand. I can walk around, talk to people. Like I said,
Believe me, if there's 2 chairs there, they'll be full. If there's 4 chairs there, they'll be full. If there's 6 chairs, every one of them will be occupied, but they'll be rotating.
and somebody will come by and go, are you getting paid to do this? Are we on the agenda for that?
Oh.
Uh,
My fault.
So when and how and who lets Jack and Chelsea know that we're not renewing your contract?
I'm sorry, Abby, I forgot about that.
Are there any other meetings that you wanna have?
I would say a letter followed up
And
with a
what
phone
time
call.
is it?
1 to 3.
No, it's 9 to.
And I didn't know if there was something in his contract that we
the
needed to
farm
let him
shows,
know by
I
a certain.
I asked.
Well,
them.
I'm
I
not gonna
think
be there
Well,
from
on the
9 to
very
2.
last
I can
paragraph,
promise
it's about
that,
60
so-
days.
Well, we won't all be,
Yeah.
well, I
So
probably.
way before May 1st.
Otherwise, it just
I
renews
just
on
read
that.
it out.
Yeah.
Just farm
Okay.
show.
Be 60 days prior. Wow, that was pretty.
That one.
Because that contract renews automatically unless given notification.
Well, then I don't know that we reach, I mean, reaching out to Chelsea, I guess. You would do that predicated on the basis of what you'd be interested in. Contracts with Jack, so I would just reach out to Jack. I would just, I'm talking me, I would just send to Jack a notice that we're not going to redo the contract. This contract's not with Chelsea. I know she's taken over, but the contract is not with Chelsea.
I would still let Jack know as soon as possible.
Well, I will, I will, but I'm just saying that if you're wanting to see if she's willing to do on an as-need basis, that would be a conversation. Because you would have the conversation to determine, not to determine, to talk about what kind of would be included in other words,
Services.
services, yeah, thank you.
But I think we have time to think about that.
Right. But I'm just simply saying that
Do they know?
I would
we give them
notify
any
Jack.
money
Now,
on
Jack
that?
wanted to notify Chelsea, that.
$1,000.
We have
Our
this
contract is
with
with Jack.
Jack.
They're supposed to send a
Okay.
bill.
Oh, yeah, you would be the person.
And like I said earlier,
Civic
one of the things that has always
Center.
frustrated me with it is that he's
Farm
indemnified.
show.
So the
Okay,
advice he gives. goes
They should be
from
sending
the
a
top.
invoice on that.
okay.
Always.
We've been donating $1,000
Yeah.
in the past, so.
Yeah, what's the point in getting advice then?
And the sheriff's office is gonna be with us there,
Okay.
so like they have been, so. There is a Friday evening at the library, there's a session about cancer with some legislators coming in. It was on my desk there, Steph, some reason I got my name attached to it. But it's just that people come in and talk about stuff for the legislators, so I think they're wanting to push a bill through and about
Yeah, there was something I
liability.
saw about that, now I can't remember what it was, but. Being a cancer survivor, I don't need to go talk to somebody about it.
Well, it's basically it's mishandling the chemicals and they're trying to blame somebody else. I'm sorry.
I always
They don't
told the
know my
doctor if I
stance
drank-
on it or do
I always told the doctor if I drank more beer, I wouldn't have cancer, but I don't drink it, that's.
So,
Is it time to get your wife lunch?
Yeah, I don't know, what time is it? Noon.
yeah.
Noon? Does somebody go to lunch at noon?
I do.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn so
So
that
moved.
Abby can go to lunch at noon.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.